Okay, so this week's Street Talk, we have got 8 storylines to talk about, starting off with what a load of rubbish, which is the Maria storyline. She took centre stage this week, and hot on her heels, Along Came a Spider is our storyline title for number 2, because we have the triumphant return of Spider Nugent. Very, very happy to see him back on our screens this week. That's going to be followed up by a discussion of the Game of Thorne storyline, and then we've got some of the more minor stories of the week, Tully and the Bully. Oh, okay. Did I tell you this storyline? That this is the storyline for the Fizz and Phil story, where I'm kind of imagining that this wedding isn't going to take place and it's going to be something to do with Fizz's potential mother-in-law. I'm calling this storyline, It's Not You, It's Mimi. That's what she needs to say.
She's going to ruin it.
Yeah, Mimi has got to ruin the wedding. It's got to be the reason. I really can't see any future, and 1 week's time I'll know, I suppose, one way or the other, where Fizz and Phil end up being married next week. And if Fizz is going to jilt Phil at the altar, she's got to say, "It's not you, it's Mimi." Can I be a Corrie writer, please? Come on. We have also got the old soap storyline, a little bit of the Timperdents, and then new storyline title alert, Gemma, Summer Holiday.
Oh, like Mimi Holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
For God's sake, Michael, you're just trying to do...
The Summer's robot is just warming up because he's been away. I don't know what
just rebooted him, and I think that he's still downloading updates.
Upstairs listening to me tape.
Yeah, exactly. So Summer's robot isn't quite ready.
I prefer the old Summer.
Okay.
Yeah,
You've got to get over that. Got to get over that. Me too.
Can you go up again?
Yes.
I was thinking of something and I can't remember. Oh, one thing that because we did know that Spider was coming back. Sorry, everybody.
We did.
If you listen to the Cabin Extras, you will know that we knew this. I was kind of glad to hear that he didn't come back saying, "Emily's dead, everybody."
Yeah.
Because that could have been one of the reasons that he returned to
Emily
the street.
didn't even get a shout
She didn't
out.
even get a shout
Eileen
out.
Derbyshire was probably there sitting in her little armchair at home with
can you imagine her
with a
sitting
cup of tea
with a rich tea biscuit going,
yeah.
"Oh, look, it's
I hope I
Spider."
get a shout out. It's like, oh no. Maybe everybody knows that she's dead.
Shut up.
No. Oh, it's good. It's good to know she's still alive. Maybe that's who Spider was on the phone to at the end of the episode.
Yes, that's right. Our plan.
We're doing something shady, Auntie Em. I know. Okay, right. So Gemma, you're going to take the What a Load of Rubbish storyline, aren't you? Because you felt quite a lot of sympathy for Maria this week.
What was that? It's a phrase. It keeps reminding me of with Toya and Maria being so objectionable and annoying. How dare these women have opinions and tell people what to do.
Mayor.
And I was thinking of the quote, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." Now, I don't think that Maria's going to make history with her recycling scheme, but it does really show that sexism rampant in society. That if any other characters, if male characters are doing this, they wouldn't get half as much stick, would they?
I don't think they would, no. Well, we'll find out because Spider is going to be doing some of it himself next week.
Think of all the protests that have been instigated by male characters on the street. Nobody questions their authority or their reasons behind it or whether they're even allowed to tell people what to do. But as soon as Maria's like, maybe we should recycle to save the planet, everyone's like, no, I like the planet being in flames. Don't tell me what to do.
I do think that everybody being up in arms about having a glass collection is...
It's the most petty, NIMBY BS I've ever heard.
And that Jimmy, the refuse collector, the head bin man.
He's a dodge, tell you.
I mean, if I suppose if they're getting him to do extra work for free, so maybe it's the council's problem.
It's definitely there's a real disconnect here between a good idea and how are you actually going to carry it out, which is very typical, I guess, of politics. It's all very well coming up with a good idea, but have you costed it? Have you worked out how it's actually going to be?
Well, I suppose that's Maria's problem, isn't it? She's just come up with the idea. She says, "Oh, I hear that in many other places in the country they have a separate bin for their glass. Let's do that. Let's go for it." I don't know. We didn't see any of her planning behind it. We just saw the outcome.
I thought that they did recycle glass, but they all just chucked it in the same bin.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah.
That was the kind of insinuation.
That's what they said, yeah.
So how is it better to have a separate glass collection then?
I guess it's speeding up time. I don't know.
Really?
Why don't you just chuck everything all in the same bin and let somebody else sort it all out at the tip?
This is the question. Surely it's saving labour costs if they did take the glass out of the recycling and separate it into cardboard and plastic and glass. Surely at some point that saved labour somewhere.
Yeah.
Hasn't
But
it?
it's not saving labour by the people that are going to pick it up, I suppose.
On Monday, Maria is watching and rewatching this video of her going, I'm a load of rubbish, put me in the bin. Quite funny.
Serious. Not funny at
Not
all.
funny.
No.
This is what it's like.
LOL.
No, it's not funny, Summers Robot. You
Now
don't
you
understand.
know.
We're going to scrap you.
Maria, what it's like to be Boris Johnson.
Recycle you into a cutlery set.
Yes, everyone's always making fun of Boris Johnson. He hasn't done anything wrong
No.
his whole life. Gary's like, ignore it. People are only doing it because they know that you've already won. You're the moral superior, and you have also saving the planet and probably turtles. She gets on edge when she goes to work, and she calls Max a creep because he says you're talking a load of rubbish. When she kind of triggers her.
Gerard the Butler scene, wasn't
This
it?
was like something that David said earlier on, which we haven't got to yet, which is when David told Max that they had a butler when he was a kid.
He was explaining about phones, wasn't he? About landlines to Max, and like saying, "Oh yeah, we always had a butler to answer
dial.
our phones, and ours was called Gerard." And
He was like, really?
It was utterly
It's like,
stupid that Max
stupid
would
kid.
believe it.
No, I don't know,
you
kids
do
are.
you do hear about people who think that in Britain we still all do have butlers, don't we?
Well, our butler's on holiday, so we don't all have them.
We've got a robot butler here.
My favourite thing, I remember going through a phase where I really enjoyed watching those videos of kids versus old technology, where you like give them a rotary phone, you like dial the number, and they're like,
Kids react
don't
to.
know how to.
I love that sort of thing. Like give them an old Game Boy or something. Or, yeah.
Anyway, he says you're talking a load of rubbish because he's sort of talking to himself, to David, and this kind of triggers her, and she calls him a creep and stuff because it's just kind of to show how on edge she is. Then she's outside and Gemma comes mouthing off to her because the bins are overflowing. And they've all got their bins outside, which means that they've either dragged them down the ginnel around to the front or through their house.
Yeah, this is the little thing that I noticed about this story. Like, whenever we've seen bins in Coronation Street in the past, they've all just been out in the ginnel, haven't they? That's where the bin men pick them up for. That's where Curly and Eddie and everyone used to pick up the bins from back in the 80s.
Normally,
there have never been bins outside the front of people's house, at least on that side of the road on Coronation Street, as far as I remember.
Normally, ginnels are wider. Normally when bins are in ginnels, they're wider so that the truck can just go down there. But yeah, why does everybody store their bins out the back?
I don't think I've ever seen a bin outside the front of a house.
But to be honest,
before,
we've never lived in a terraced house. We've only ever lived in a maisonette before
I
this.
thought you said a terrorist house.
We've never lived in a terraced house where they have bins. So I'm sure some people have to drag their bins through their houses.
Yeah.
But it depends on where you.
It's
Because
fine
they
for
haven't got
storyline
anywhere.
purposes.
They haven't got anywhere to put it out the front, do they? Like some people would have a little bit to. If your bin has to stay out the front, because that's the only where the binman can get to it. It would be there already normally, but they can't keep them out there, can they? Must be a right pain in the bum. This is why you never see it, because people will just be falling over bins every collection day.
For the sake of the storyline, I have got no problem with the bins being out the front. And I did like the stuff about Sally and her 2 bins as well.
We used to have an extra bin, didn't we?
We did in our old house.
Yeah.
Was it 2?
2 recycling. We had 1.5, didn't we?
Yeah. Why did we have that? Was it just there when we got
somebody
there?
took it and then they brought it back, but I already asked the council for a new one, and because it's a load of maisonettes, there are so many people living in each house, you can't really tell who's is whose.
Yeah.
And so we could get away with like,
Having
there's
2
just 3 bins here. What do you mean?
Sally's was brilliant because it's got the flower
She says
transfer.
it's all perfectly above board. I have a man who comes and cleans it every 3 months.
A quarterly, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have a quarterly bin spraying.
And I'm thinking to myself, we need to get that.
Do you reckon?
I would love somebody to
A
come
couple
and
of
spray
weeks
my
ago,
bins.
I opened up our bins and there were maggots writhing around underneath the lid. It was pretty grim.
That's right.
But,
Tell everyone the secrets of our
Our
bins.
filthy secrets about our bins.
Come on, next. Sally,
You're talking about
but
it.
you were going to say something.
No, I was just talking about I like the flowers around the outside of it.
Yeah.
And because you can go to garden centres or whatever, can't you, and buy all these
haven't quite
things
got
to
that
spruce
far.
up your wheelie bin.
And your dad, when we went to go visit him, he had a special. He wasn't using it for this. He was storing his cushions, his outdoor cushions in it. But he had a thing that was a special plastic bin store, wasn't it? That you could put your bins in for outside. People were so got no limits to what they spend money on.
No.
It's brilliant.
Bins are an important business in this country. We
Of
take them
course.
very seriously.
There's a lot of politics mixed up with bins, as we're learning.
Yeah.
Gemma's aghast to see that Sally's got 2 bins. She wants another bin as well. She's got bloody 8 kids or how many. and Todd's like, yeah, I want one as well. And then Maria's like, look, I haven't got time for this. And she gets a message from the school saying that Liam's been in a fight, so she has to rush off.
This happens a little bit. I'm a bit fed up at this on Coronation Street. It's starting to become a bit too much of a trope that when one character is going through some kind of drama, which, you know, does happen fairly often on this show, their child inevitably gets into a fight and they go, oh, all this drama that I'm going through, I haven't thought about how it's affecting my child. It's getting a little bit stale.
If you don't like it, Liam, move out. So you've written Todd persuades Ed, but you mean Gary?
Yes.
So was this earlier when Todd wanted a bin? Was that Todd or was it Gary?
I don't know.
Everyone wants a bin.
It doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant who it was.
They all Ed,
Gary's saving the day, and he tells Ed that they're going to put the rubbish bins in his van to take to the tip. And Ed's like...
Do you remember the episode of 70s Coronation Street where Hilda and Eddie and Stan had to go to the tip and they were rooting around because she put Eddie had thrown her clothes away, or Stan had thrown her clothes away, and they'd gone to the tip and they were picking about the tip trying to find her clothes.
Absolutely gripping.
It was good. It was good time.
It was. Maria takes Liam home. She grounds him for 2 weeks.
They could do no wrong, those 3.
And Liam says that he was mad because a boy showed him a video on his phone of Maria, and she's like, "Look, it's just a daft song. Don't worry about it. Don't get yourself in a fight over it." And Liam's like, "It wasn't a song." ... So when Gary gets home from wrangling bins, and apparently one of them fell over in the van, which I think would have been great to have seen happen. Imagine them getting there and then Ed's like, "What the hell is this, Gary? What are you doing to my van?" Gary gets home later and Maria's obsessively looking at her laptop, and she tells him there's another video going around, and this one is even worse because they've deepfaked her. They've put her head on the body of somebody in a porn video, and it looks really realistic. The police and
you said that as if we'd seen it, but sadly we were not able to bear witness to this.
In the interest of science, deepfake. They should have let us see.
Well, they should have just put it, online later. They could have censored the bits that we didn't.
No,
need
I
to
don't
see.
really want to see it. I think it's gross. And she's like, "Well, the police are going to get it taken down, aren't they? Like, this can't happen. How is this allowed? I'm worried about Liam now. This is taking a toll on him." And she's still thinking about it later. She
Just
can't get this out of her
imagine how
head.
scarred you would be if you were Liam, because he's still a fairly young boy. I don't know how clued in he is with this kind of
this
thing.
is
but
horrific.
did he actually see this, thinking this was real? That would seeing your mum.
I don't know what kids are seeing things like this younger and younger age, and I'm going to argue that it's incredibly damaging for their development to see any kind of pornography or nude pictures like that.
But to see it and
it's
be
your
your mum
is just. I think he probably, and I'm not really making a joke, probably does need to go to therapy now.
I know, he did, and then we didn't see particularly any follow up from that either, did we? By the end of the week, he was absolutely fine dressing up in his Star Trek costume, but that's the sort of thing that's going to dwell.
Yeah. Maria is still thinking about this, and she can't stop thinking about it. It's such a violation. It's really disgusting. Gary says, "Look, everyone's going to know it's fake. Don't worry about it." And she says that you're being a bit naive. I think. I want to know, what about this poor woman who was in the film to begin with? Does she get no credit? Maria's basically stolen her glory here.
Yeah, identity theft.
It is identity. Maria should go to jail because that was an honest day's work.
Maybe it was Nicky or somebody.
Maybe, well, that's why she's come back. She's like, "You owe me royalties."
Yeah, they could be. Can't believe we're making light of this.
I'm not. I think this is horrific.
Yeah, we were both
this makes me
pretty,
depressed. And the thing is,
I've been
could happen to anyone.
I've been very kind of flippant about this whole story up to this point, but I think this was the moment that
like
actually got me to properly
crosses the
sympathise
line.
with Maria. Really did.
Because I don't think anyone would ever bother doing this to a man. Because it humiliates women far more, and anyone could do this to anybody.
Yeah,
there's nothing to, as long as you know how
to women more.
disgusting. So she's like, she kind of goes through a little bit of a mini crisis, and then she says, "You're being naive," and he says, "Liam will be fine. Kids are tough." And she said, "Nope, I'm not going to let them. I'm not going to let them get away with it. I'm going to take the bull by the horns. I'm going to confront this. I'm going to put on my power suit and put on my lippy." So she goes outside, and I was like, "Yeah, you go, girl." And then she goes and starts filming a video, and I was like, "No, this is exactly the wrong thing to do.
Why?
Don't engage with them. Don't give them the satisfaction. Don't give them any ammunition."
So she was just doing that to show, look, this hasn't affected me at all.
Right,
So do you think it would have been better if she'd have just stayed silent?
Not necessarily stayed silent, but this is kind of like the same thing as when you're having an argument on the internet. If you're ever having an argument on the internet with somebody, and you have to realise that the person you're talking to is never going to listen to you, all you can hope to do is to convince somebody else who is listening that you're correct and they're wrong, right? So Maria, when she was recording this video, she shouldn't have recorded it to the trolls. She should have recorded it to everybody else and said, "We're all in this together. This is what happens when you stand up for something. I'm fighting for everybody's future here. I'm not concerned with these idiots." But she was telling them, telling them off, like, "You're an abuser. You get your kicks out of making people feel powerless. Well, I'm not powerless. I'm empowered. My son's going to grow up respecting women." All of these are just total trigger words to get these people to realise they've gotten under her skin, and now she's going to react to everything they say.
That's a good point.
So yeah, that was just like, it was like putting out cat food and wondering why cats
Was it
keep
like
coming.
it was a bit of a red rag to
It
red pill?
It was.
What is it? Like, was that
Red Pill 100 or something.
Yeah.
Such a bloody... It might as well have been called Internet Troll 59.
So we're looking for somebody who's a Matrix fan, are we?
Do you not know?
No?
It's
that
not
red
from
pill,
the
blue
Matrix.
pill?
Well, it comes from the Matrix, but it is it's been taken, this red pill, blue pill thing. Do you not know this? I thought it was like the most basic. When I was watching this, I was like, what a basic thing. Like, it felt like Corey Wright's going, "We know what the internet is. Red pills are people."
Basically,
it's like them, so like when in the Matrix, it's the red pill or the blue pill, isn't it? And if you take the blue pill, you go back into the Matrix and you're ignorant.
Yeah.
If you take the red pill, you wake up to what the world's really like.
Yeah.
So people on the internet who are like, who are, they feel like they know what the conspiracies are and everything. They call themselves red pilled.
Oh, okay.
So they've woken up to what the world's really like. Like, yeah, women are all in on a scam and trying to get one over on it. Vaccines are fake.
Yeah.
The coronavirus was made in a lab, / it was a bat, / it was the Chinese, / it was Putin, / it was Trump, whatever. It's basically an internet culture of people who like to argue and make porn videos.
Oh, interesting. No,
Well, the thing is about Red Pill, it's difficult to like put them all in one basket of what they believe, but it basically is like a counterculture, anything that's like, climate denial, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Summer's Robot, if we let you run rampant, are you gonna? Is the Matrix actually gonna happen?
Affirmative.
Okay, so
I think we should all be mashed up.
Do you reckon?
I think we should be mashed
up into red soup.
Yeah, and fed to... Oh, do you know what? I'm going to hold my hand up here. If I could be mashed up and fed to Keanu Reeves to keep that beautiful man alive for another more day, I think that would be a good sacrifice that my life has led up to.
Yeah, it'd be worth it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be worth it.
I'd quite like to see a future where the whole world is taken over by Summer's Robot.
We can only hope for that day.
Yes, indeed.
Hopefully it runs on vegan lasagna.
Veggie lasagna.
No, it's not. It's not veggie anymore. It's vegan. It's
okay. Toya's got other lasagna for every occasion, hasn't she?
Yeah.
She'll point out when her gluten-free friends come around. Oh, would you like a gluten-free one? When a dairy-free, have one of these.
So, she's recorded this video and she goes, "Yes, I've done it." Then she bumps into Carla later and she's impressed with the video, but then Maria looks at where she posted it and it's got loads of comments again. Like, she goes to find Gary in the bistro and she's like, "Look at all these vile comments. How can people be like this?" And he says, "Look, don't even look." And she says, "Like, I cannot help it." And he can't either, and they get obsessed with it. And it gets even worse at the end of the episode because somebody's put their address on the internet and there's a death threat as well. So Maria's really stressing out on Wednesday, and she wants to go to the police, and Gary wants to protect her, but she's like, you can't be everywhere and do
protect my mind.
So Gary finds Maria on the laptop later, and she's been down a bit of a rabbit hole, and she's found a group of people.
Also Matrix reference.
True, follow the white rabbit. So she says she said it was called an echo chamber.
Yes.
I found an echo chamber. It's like, I don't think that people call it that on the internet. It reminded me a little bit of like in Prometheus, where they beam down to a planet and she's like, I found where the aliens are laying their eggs. This is the origin of all the horrible thoughts on the internet. But yeah, a load of people, they're all egging each other on. Sounds like she's found the official Coronation Street Facebook page. They want to string her up. She refuses to back down and hide away. She's not going to cancel this afternoon's press conference. She's going to go and confront her demons. So she's in the cafe later. Nina overhears them talking, and she hears about the death threats, and she tells Maria that she mustn't back down, and she's completely on her side. So Maria goes to the press conference. She's wearing...
Where's the press conference held again?
Chariot Square Hotel.
Of course, Chariot Square Hotel.
And I also like the fact that she is wearing her very best Cher from Clueless plaid two-piece short skirt suit.
What was that?
What do you mean?
What was she wearing?
She was wearing... God, just press your button.
I'm not pressing it.
Fashion. Ooh. Like what you're wearing.
Gemma made Summer's Robot say that, not me. It was nothing to do with me.
So the press conference starts and she gets tackled. The thing is, she seems to have started a press conference about how the bin men are defying her to an audience solely comprised of bin men.
It's bin men and journos, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the bin man, Jimmy, is taken off by a police officer because he keeps disrupting the meeting. And so they carry on without him, but then Gary sees Jimmy at the back and starts having a go at him, and then they have a fight, and Maria has to leap up, and all the journalists are going, yeah, it's brilliant, filming it on their phones, and Gary's now convinced that it was Jimmy who was the troll. The press are loving this, and Maria's having to defend Gary from beating people up, and they're twisting everything and saying... oh, you're saying it was Jimmy that's... Because she says, he's attacking him because he's the one behind this. And then the journalists are like, oh, so it's a Weatherfield City Council employee who's been sending you death threats. And she's like, oh my God. She's not had a, media training
no.
for this. And neither has Gary, but I think he should have been the one who was given some lessons before. Like, don't punch anybody.
You can't tell Gary not to punch anyone. He's a hot-blooded male. You got to punch when you got to punch.
Gary says, here's an idea, don't read what people say. And she says, it's part of my job. And if I can't handle it, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore. But then she says, I just wanted to make a difference. Mm. So Kelly... Chernobyl, yeah. Everyone's gone nuclear on her. Kelly goes to the cafe and tells Nina that Maria wants to quit. And Sally's in there and she hears this and she can't believe it because Maria's doing such a great job. She can't give up. And I like this. This was really sweet, and you don't get very many of these scenes in Corrie where two women that don't really have a lot to do with each other kind of empower and big each other up. You get lots of like friends kind of supporting each other now, which is great.
The point behind this was that they had been enemies,
rivals,
hadn't they?
Yeah.
And they've been rivals in the race to be councillor.
But also Sally's an experienced woman, and she has had her difficulties being in politics. Although I will argue that Sally just ran away with her tail between her legs because Tim made her give up. So I don't think I'd take her advice. But anyway, Sally takes Maria to speed dial for a pep talk and says, when you're a woman in politics, you have to be extra strong. These idiots say things to you they would never say to a man, and you cannot let them win.
Woman stand. Woman.
Yes.
You go, Summer's Robot.
She says, you're a doer, Maria, and I, for one, would be gutted if you stepped down. So this is true. If you're a woman in any kind of public thing, you get judged way more harshly, but you also get like rape threats, death threats, you get comments about what you look like. Mm. You get much more... I'm not saying that men have it easy or don't get criticised, but there's definitely an added layer of vitriol and the threat of violence that women...
there seems to be. I mean... but when I first saw some of this, I can't remember if it was this week or last week, I was kind of thinking, is this really that realistic? Would people be that much up in arms against Maria? But you kind of educated me a little bit and say, well, this is absolutely the sort of thing that some women in the public eye do have to go through.
I think it becomes invisible. I think misogyny can be quite invisible because we are so used to living in a world of double standards. So anyway, Maria comes back and she again has decided, I'm not going to let them win. I'm going to do a social media detox. So Gary and Kelly are pleased and they support her, but she gets left alone.
Doesn't even last a scene.
She gets left alone in the flat later, and then she hears the messages on her phone. I don't think she understands that if you're on a social media detox, one of the things you've got to do is maybe turn off the notifications on your phone, or at least turn off the sound.
I don't remember whether it was her phone or whether she was looking on Gary's phone, because doesn't he go off to get some chips or something like that, and he just leaves her there with a very tempting-looking phone.
Going ding, ding,
yeah.
ding.
And then they do that, yeah, she's reading the messages, and they're so powerful and abusive that we start to hear the echoes inside her head.
Yeah, like, you're horrible, you ugly, you should do one.
Yeah.
Etc. So on Friday, Gary and Maria are setting up Liam's Star Trek birthday because he's got into...
Who knew that Liam was a massive Trekkie?
Apparently he got into it and he's watched the original series and everything.
Yeah, except Maria made a reference to Jean-Luc Picard, so she.
I know. I was getting a bit confused about what original series they were actually talking about.
It looked like they were reading. I mean, I do not know about Star Trek.
They had Bones, but they had Jean-Luc Picard.
It's all the same to me.
No.
I know it's different, but I'm not a Trekkie.
Why didn't they have any tribbles? That's what I want to know.
I can't remember whether I said this on the podcast before, but I think I probably would really get into Star Trek if I tried to watch it. Like I know that I would be obsessed by it, and in the last 20 years, there's been an awful lot more Star Trek made, hasn't there? How many series are there now?
I don't know. I've lost track of it myself.
I do not have the time for Star Trek in my life. Also, we haven't talked about my friend Trekkie on the podcast for years now, have we?
No.
But back at school, my friend's Trekkie, his name was actually James, he was called Trekkie as a term of endearment from the other boys at school. But
I think you just thought, as long as you're not into Star Trek, you're not a nerd. Yeah. But I hate to break it to you.
I can like Coronation Street and the Spice Girls and Nintendo games as much as I like, but if I don't like Star Trek, I'm okay. I'm pretty cool still.
Right. So they are planning the Liam Star Trek birthday party at the bistro and everyone's in costume. They all pose for a selfie and then Maria's like, please don't put that online, Gary, in case it gets us a load of hate. And he's a bit disappointed and they keep going on about this for ages to each other and talking about what a shame it is they can't post this picture. Like they feel the world needs a picture of Gary and Maria in Star Trek uniforms. And just imagine somebody like scrolling through Twitter going, oh, the world is just so painful and hateful and everyone's Star Trek. Look at that lovely family.
I found Maria was feeling like really self-conscious and everything and didn't want people to notice her, but she was the one in the foreground of the picture, wasn't she? She was like, hello, it's me, Maria, my lovely yellow outfit, and I suppose there's my family behind us.
Oh yeah,
as well.
these lot of nerds came.
Do you remember that time when Shirley Houston had to wear something that looked a bit like a Star Trek uniform, and it was like completely unintentional, wasn't it? But she looked like she'd just beamed down off the SS Enterprise, and everyone on Twitter was like, you're in Star Trek. And that's when I made my amazing I made a picture that said "Make it so" because she was sitting at a sewing machine.
Oh yeah.
God, that's the days.
I think this made me laugh because there was this year the City of Culture. There was a competition to find the best, the future city of culture.
That's a thing that we do in this country.
And Southampton was one of the cities that like threw themselves into the competition. And our phrase, our slogan was "Make it so," because SO is the code.
Yeah, that's our postcode code, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we didn't win.
We didn't win.
Who won?
Brad.
No. I don't remember. Not us, so it doesn't matter. They're dead.
We don't care. That's it.
It's Liverpool at the moment. What?
Was it Liverpool again?
No, it's Liverpool. It was currently Liverpool. No, it's Coventry,
Liverpool,
isn't it?
Liverpool was ages ago.
My home ground, Coventry, is apparently the city of culture at the moment.
But the thing is, I think the city is more like which city needs culture and help. And funding.
Well, we don't. We're great.
No, we don't need it. We're alright. We got Lord Mayor instead.
Yeah.
That's it. They're like sad they can't post a picture because they get a load of hate.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm sure
there'd be loads of people going, I can't believe you've mixed up the Star Trek uniforms from the Next Generation and the original. I don't know where you got those costumes from, but they don't use glitter on their uniforms.
That was totally like out there, those Star Trek references. Like what who in the writers' room decided, let's make it Star Trek?
Quirky
Does somebody who wrote the episode, are they a massive Trekkie? They're like, I've
maybe they were
any
like,
excuse.
I've been on the phone and we're in trouble because we've done a load of Star Wars product placements by accident because of Norris and Mary, but we haven't done any Star Trek.
Yeah, you don't want to rile up the Trekkie fans against the Star Warsers.
Next thing you know, they'll be doing Game of Thrones and then it'll be Lord of the Rings having a go at them. They have to put Eowyn in it.
Yeah, I think they should have had a little cameo from Sergei the Meerkat going, "Dear Space."
I think they should have had a cameo from
a reference.
The guy who played Jean-Luc Picard.
Patrick Stewart
going, it's me, I'm the fireman who was in one episode.
Yes.
You let my friend, what's his face, he was Gandalf in it. I want to be in it too.
I loved Kelly's lack of Star Trek knowledge. We talked about Kelly earlier,
well, she could do a Vulcan salute really well, and I'm not very good at it.
I can do it, they're really easy to do, but I was telling you that when I know I told you this story already.
You already said it on this podcast.
This at the beginning of the podcast.
It's like you think that's a fun fact about you, but it just makes you look even weirder.
That makes me kooky and cool. I can do
double bins out front.
I've not organised our
Gemma's still doing her sign language.
Yeah.
Gary's a liability. Do you feel sorry for Maria?
What? So what's he just reading out bullet points for me? Do you want to talk about this one or not? I thought that this
spoken a lot about different bits.
Yeah, I thought that this was a really well done story this week on the whole. I have been not feeling that much sympathy for Maria, and to be able to have something sort of come along and make me go, okay, maybe that has gone a little bit too far, then they've done a good job. I was invested in it. I'm not a massive fan of Maria or Gary, but I enjoyed this stuff. I don't know how it's going to end up. I was wondering, only because I saw somebody posting about it online, like, are we supposed to, will we eventually find out who this red pillar is, or is it just, anonymous internet dude?
Do you think it is this Jimmy?
No, I don't think it. I mean, it could be, but
if it is, the only new character that's got a name who's appeared.
If it is Jimmy, then it's like, so what? It's Jimmy. I don't think it needs to be anyone. I saw somebody online suggesting that maybe it was Max, because they had that scene early in the episode where she tells him he's a nerd or
he's a creep.
He's a creep. She said, didn't she? So he might have been riled up enough to have made a deep fake of her. Are they hard to do? Would that be beyond him? He's only 15. I know he's excellent in the AV club and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He's in the AV club.
But you can just get the apps that kind of do it for you these days, can't you? I think they do a fairly ropey job, but I don't know. Are we moving on to the next story?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, anything else to talk about in this? I think it is a real shame, and I do think that, like, there's definitely a problem with online hate, but I don't think it's ever going to go away. Like, if you're a public figure or you do anything, you attract people who feel like they want to tell you their opinion of what you do and belittle you, and as though they have a right to try to make you feel bad just because they're not interested or don't like what you're trying to say. And you can see it just in interactions with, like, celebrities online. Like, somebody will post something and then a load of people will be like, I hate you, your show's rubbish, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
How do you stop it from happening? Can you, is it impossible? And is this going to suppress people who could actually do a really good job of going into doing politics? I don't know. I think it probably does it.
She needs to get Tracy Rabin in to help her fight her corner, doesn't she, Maria?
How do you get yourself used to just constantly being abused online? There's one thing to sort of accept accountability and criticism, but abuse...
Yeah, some people are just very good at being able to say, being able to switch it off, or at least, giving the impression that it doesn't affect you.
But also, being horrible to somebody shouldn't be a crime. You should be able to speak your mind.
Yeah.
It's just such an unfortunate sort of curse of the internet that we are much more able to hear each other's most idle vindictive thoughts about things.
Well, this, I was watching, you may or may not know, listeners, that I'm a bit of a Nintendo fan, but there was a little event that they did online this week, and the new Monkey Island game, there was a trailer for it, and the guy who was behind the Monkey Island series...
Threepwood.
Yeah, that's the character name, well done, good job,
Yep.
you nerd. The guy who's in charge of the series, or who was back in the early days, but then moved away from the series.
Oh yeah, because I sent him a load of
games
death threats.
3 and 4 came out, but he's back for this new game, which is the first one in 30 years or so that he's been involved in, and the graphic style is a little bit weird on this one. It's a little bit ugly, and people have been responding to his comments online because he's been posting about it on social media and everything, and they've just been saying how awful it is and how rubbish it is and how we should give up and everything. And yesterday he posted, well, I'm not going to do any promotion for the game now, you've really spoiled it for me, this isn't fun engaging with you guys.
Yeah, good for him.
The game's going to come out later this year, but don't expect me to post about it
What
anymore.
a sad thing that has happened.
Yeah.
Aren't people vicious?
It is, but it does. But then I'm thinking, I didn't post online about how much I don't like the graphics, but I don't particularly like it. But I think some people
Take it.
It seems it's such an easy thing to do, isn't it? To post criticism
Well,
of whatever
we're criticising.
online.
Whenever I think about this stuff, I think, well, we sit here for like 3 hours a night, 3 hours a week, criticising things, and we can be very flippant and dismissive with our comments.
We still try not to make it personal, though. Although we don't make it personal to the actors. But when we say, "Oh, that wasn't a very good scene," or "This story's boring," then
someone's going to take that personally.
Yeah, exactly. So as the storyliners or the writers or whatever think, "Oh, I really like that
tried
story.
my hardest with that.
Try really hard with my Emma exit story."
I do try to sort of think. The thing is, I cripple myself sometimes with trying to not offend anybody and say the right thing all the time, and then I get criticised for that.
I mean, I suppose when we criticise the story, we are not doing it to be personal to someone and saying this person shouldn't have a, what a load of rubbish this person is, they should be fired or anything like that. We don't do it to make somebody feel bad. We just do it because that's what our opinion is. And I think that a lot of these internet commenters, who are the ones that are upsetting the most, are when they post comments purposefully to upset and,
But I understand too, because I was, I've been alive on this planet.
What?
Long enough to get a bit of a thrill sometimes out of being a horrible cow to people who I don't like. And
on or offline, or a bit of both.
Both, yeah. Sometimes when you really hate somebody, you can feel really powerful and like, yeah, here you go. Take that, insert person. Everybody also agrees with me that is horrible and deserves to be abused on the internet.
Yeah,
and some people you feel like, yeah, you kind of do deserve it a little bit.
But what Maria's done this week, like,
she said recycle things.
People are saying, she's saying, put your glass in a separate bin. That does not deserve the level of hatred that this character has got this week. So, in this sense, yes, I do feel very, very sorry for her anyway.
Let's move on to the next story.
Summer's Robot is getting a bit fed up with it. I think Summer's Robot is a bit of a Spider fan.
Know how it feels to have your feelings hurt.
No, Summer's Robot doesn't have any feelings.
Good one.
Oh,
sorry, you don't.
So along came a spider. Oh my god, this is amazing. Now, how long ago was it? A month and a half, 2 months ago, that it was announced that Martin Hancock would be taking back up his role of Spider again. And because recently the main returns we've had are Spider, Wendy, and Stephen. And Spider's return was the first one that was announced, wasn't it? And this is the one that I was easily the most excited about seeing again, and didn't disappoint. Already it was better than Wendy and Stevens, and I'm just hoping that, unlike those two characters, we're going to see an awful lot of him next week, because Stephen, again, I think he was only in Monday's episode this week, wasn't he? And there's a little bit like how Wendy had a few scenes after her debut one and has disappeared since, so I just need a lot of Spider now. I'm looking forward to this. But anyway, he's not there on Wednesday. What's going on Wednesday is we got Toya back. She's been a bit of a recluse recently. She's been having a bit of a breather. But she's telling Leanne that she's got a meeting with her solicitor later today. The best thing that she needs to do, she's being told, is, and she's kind of decided for herself, is that she needs to get on with her life. And try to put this trial to the back of her mind. And she's going to start by paying Leanne back the money she owes for the solicitor. She needs to stand on her own 2 feet. And she reminds us all that the last time Leanne and Toya interacted, Leanne made it kind of obvious that she's not 100% believing Toya's version of events, or that she didn't cause the crash on purpose or whatever. And Toya says, well, from now on, you're looking at the only person I can rely on. So
I like it kind of makes me laugh a little bit that you kind of do need everybody to doubt Toya a little bit to push her to the brink and make her feel like she's trapped and she doesn't have any options. But it is really funny because, like, it's not like they're like, I think you took the last Twix. It's, I think you killed your husband and you're pretending that you didn't. Which is quite a serious thing, but people are being a bit casual about it. Like, Leanne's like, look, all right, yeah, you didn't do it, I get it. You know what I mean?
I suppose they're just used to it, but they've been desensitised to this kind of thing. What with Tracy just living down the road as well. Like, oh, you're just another one of another Tracy Barlow. So Toya goes to work.
I would love to hear Tracy say to Toya, yeah, I know you didn't do it, me either.
That would be so funny, yeah. Wink, wink. They could
start
join a club. So Toya arrives at work later, doesn't get that much of a warm welcome from Saki Beth. And Toya says, look, I've got the right to earn a living just as much as anyone else. I want to come to work, none of your business. And Beth's trying to, like, dig for details, isn't she? She's trying to get the gossip on this. She's like, oh, go on, just give me a little snippet of trivia. Not trivia, what did she say? A little bit of... I can't remember what she said. A little bit of goss on the trial. And Toya says, look, I'm here to work, not to spice up your life with gossip. Thank you, writer, for giving Toya a Spice Girls quote there. I know that was from me on my birthday week. In my head, anyway.
Yeah.
So Sarah comes into work later and she's got Joe Defoe there with her.
Joe
Lafoe, sorry. Sorry.
Joe Lafoe and Carla Barla.
Yes, and she has got... Joe Lafoe is this client, isn't she? I had to look at her Coripedia page the other day, and she's been on and off in the show since 2018 or something. Yeah, I never recognise her when she walks in.
No, I always go, I know that lady, I know
just
her.
A client? Are we supposed to know who this is? Well, yeah, probably by this point we are. But anyway, Sarah's quite surprised to see Toya there. Like, why didn't you tell me or Carla that you're coming into work? And Toya says, look, I didn't realise I needed permission to come into work. She's also very snappy with someone on the phone. I can't remember, she's talking to someone or other about a deal, and she's like, no, that's not good enough, and slams the phone down. And so Sarah Lou takes Joe back out of the office again, and Joe's like, not really a good look for you to have someone who's been accused of murder working for Underworld, just saying. And Sarah's like, don't worry, Joe, I've got this situation in hand, because I'm an excellent boss,
woman.
you know, yeah. So she goes in to see Toya back in her office later, and she's calmed down a little bit. She's apologetic, Toya this is. And Sarah says, well, it's all very well, Toya, but the thing is, can't afford for my workers to be upsetting clients right now. And Toya kind of gradually dawns on her that she's being fired. So she leaves, and not before saying, tell me when you find it, Sarah. Your backbone, that is. Go, Toya.
Burn.
What a sick burn from Toya there.
I can't believe that on Coronation Street, being a potential murderer is not a protected characteristic.
Yeah, I know, totally. I think we should all be forgiven for doing it, having at least one murder accusation. Yeah, exactly. So we have going back to her flat. She bumps into Abby and Alfie on the street.
Oh.
Nice to get a little bit of appearance from Abby this week, and because we've hardly seen any Abby on Coronation Street this year.
I start to wonder if she's still in it.
Yeah, talk about not recognising Joe Lafoe. See Sally Carmen there. What's she doing in it? She's shameless, isn't she? Abby says, "Look, do you wanna see Alfie?" And Toya says, "Oh no, I can't. I've got to go." So she does a sad face and then kind of walks back into her flat.
I thought this was awful. Poor Toya. Well, she just knows it's like, well, I can't. It's going to break my heart too much.
That's it, isn't it? I think if she realises that she just can't get attached anymore. She's just trying to wean herself off this kid that she thought was going to be hers forever, and it's just going to stir up those old feelings again.
Stir up these old ovaries.
Yes, but don't worry, Toya, because along comes somebody on Friday to take you on right off all of that.
Start stirring up the ovaries again.
Exactly. So Friday, Toya is in the cafe. As you do, and she overhears Maria telling Gary that the council is planning to incinerate all this extra recycling that's being built up.
But I thought that
What? I think that was right.
Save it for winter when we need the heat.
Toya overhears this and is absolutely disgusted by that. And she's like, what?
I
Burning
can't believe it.
recycling? I used to be an activist, don't you know? How about we have a protest here? And she calls up a mate from her activist days and starts organising this. And I think this is a lovely throwback. I just thought it was... I think there probably was a fair few viewers that might have been watching it today and going, what? Toya was an activist? She used to do protests, because they've not mentioned it in a very long time, have they? I think when she came back, 5 years or so ago, she went off for a few with Nina, was it? No, actually, that kind of been 5 years ago. It was Nina. I can't remember. She's had a few in the last few years, but it felt like these feelings of passionate upsurgence came out of nowhere. Maybe, I don't know. Not for me.
About?
I'm just saying that some people might have forgotten that she was a protester.
She seems like such a buttoned-up missus.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, she used to be a hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
What a mardy mare.
Yeah, exactly. See, Summer's robot didn't know, but yeah, that's right. She used to be a protester.
But you have to be a bit mardy to be a protester.
Yeah, exactly.
We need people to protest. We need people to
Who'd
look
ever heard
out
of a
for
peaceful
us.
protest, honestly?
Yeah.
So,
good
anyway,
for them.
Maria goes to the bistro later. This is when she's organising Liam's Star Trek thing. And Maria says, look, Leanne, just to let you know, Toya's planning to do a protest. And I'm a bit worried about her. I think Maria's also worried that the press are going to get hold of the fact that a potential murderer is rallying her cause.
Of course they will.
And she says, Gary, like, she says to Gary, like, I don't even think that Toya's really into this protest. She just wants something to take her mind off what's going on with the crash and the trial and everything.
Oh, excuse me, Maria. Only one person on the street's allowed to care about the environment. Is that the case?
Yeah, it is, totally. Toya goes looking for supporters for this. She enlists Mary, who in turn tries to get Alia to join in. And Alia has absolutely no intention whatsoever of helping Toya, because remember, she's still a little bit mad at her for being responsible for Imran's death.
What a mardy mare.
Yeah, she is even more of a mardy mare. You're right, Summer's robot.
She also she also is disgusted that Toya's apparently in quotes moving on so quickly from the death of Imran, which is hilarious, because remember when Luke died, Alia wouldn't shut up about it for months and months and months. They'd been dating for like a week or something.
I know.
So she's probably like, I don't understand, Toya, you don't seem to care because you haven't built a shrine or anything.
So Leanne finds Toya in Victoria Gardens later, is trying to chivvy her up over the whole Alia thing, because it's kind of put Toya off kilter a little bit. Toya's not quite ready to forgive her though. To forgive Leanne, that is, and she calls her a hypocrite and says, look, I just can't be around people who don't trust me at the moment. You think I murdered Imran. Alia thinks I murdered Isran. You can do one, sister. Imran.
It's been gone so long you don't remember what his name is.
His name even. She kind of gets really upset again and says, look, Leanne, I was getting this close to losing it, and if I want to help out with Maria, then I will, and tell you what, you can come along as well. You come to my protest, Leanne, and show me that you really do support me. And Leanne kind of agrees to be there, standing shoulder to shoulder with her at the protest.
Leanne's like, I could never tell anybody what to do or where to go.
Yeah, I know.
It's like she's like, I'm very retiring. Well, I don't want to be confrontational.
There were a couple of scenes of Leanne at the protest, didn't she? And she was given such a half-hearted job.
She's like, I'm not even. God,
she just needed to kind of, dig deep for the feelings of when she's been mad at literally everybody else on the street.
Like, Leanne, your motivation is they want to take your kid off life support. Go!
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Leanne, you could have done better than that. Leanne's like, who are we protesting again?
What are we protesting? Pigeons?
Yeah. Nice to see Nina was getting involved with this, because being an ex-protesting buddy of Toya's, and she's there on the phone trying to ring around, get another support coming up. Protesters are out in the street later, down Victoria Street, and a bin lorry comes up, and they're there with their placards and everything. Who else was there? Brian, I think. I can't remember who else.
For once, they managed to build a respectable crowd.
It wasn't bad, was it?
Well, it's the biggest protest they've had in Weatherfield for 2 years now.
Was it bigger than the brewery protest for the 60th anniversary? I would say of similar size for that one. So the protesters there stopping a bin lorry. Toya has it out with the driver. He's like saying, you got to go away. I need to get to work. And Toya's like, no, you need to phone up your boss and tell him or her that we're not back in town over this.
I loved it.
Hilarious.
That's
the sort of thing that Sally would say.
I'm surprised. Yes, no, Sally would have gone, call your boss and tell him or her. But I'm surprised that Toya didn't go, call him and tell her or him or them.
So we also see her ignoring a phone call from Shuttleworth's, so it looks like that she is kind of...
Got to come and pick up the body.
The body is in ash at the moment.
Do you think? Was he cremated?
Oh yeah, he was cremated.
Oh, is she going to recycle him? She put her money where her mouth is then, shouldn't
exactly.
she?
Turn him into a nice sparkly diamond ring. Tell you
Fire
what, it'd be the best
space.
looking diamond ring on any woman's
What a Bobby
finger on
Dazzler.
that street. He would be a total Bobby Dazzler. What did the Shuttleworths want?
Yeah, exactly. I think they.
Is there a mystery going on there?
No, I think she's just not picked up the ashes because I think she's in denial.
Oh yeah, I guess it must be that, mustn't it? Okay, so she ends up climbing into the cab of the bin lorry and to the cheers of the protesters, and it's like, Toya.
I love this. I was like, is Toya going to drive this truck up and down the road?
See,
Have they got insurance?
we need to set these
For Georgia
protesters
Taylor.
against all the Twitter anti-Toya brigade, don't we?
I don't think that you would be able to run them all down at once.
There are quite a few, it's
Yeah.
true. So Leanne and Kelly are trying to persuade Toya to come out of the bin lorry, but she's
like,
like,
"No."
nope. And good job she stayed in there because she got to have a lovely little scene with an old friend who shows up.
Who?
And it's Spider. I quite liked how they did it. They had a few shots of him from behind, didn't they? Obviously, we knew that he was coming back. Just like with Wendy Crozier a few weeks ago, I'd love to be a fly in the wall of somebody who's a massive Spider fan that didn't know he was returning, because we've been talking for years about Spider coming back, and this is turning out to be not too dissimilar from some of my predictions in the New Year's podcast, is it? Because I did say that there'd be some kind of protest related to Maria's counselling,
Did
and
you?
Spider would come back for that. Yep, this was part of the protest. This is like one of the closest I've ever been. I did not know that Martin Hancock was coming back then. But
No.
yeah, if I hadn't known about Wendy Crozier coming back, I'd have been like, wow, it's Wendy Crozier, that's quite cool. But if I hadn't known about Spider, I think I would have lost it with exuberance and jubilation, because I really, really love Spider, and it was so lovely to see him climbing back into the cab.
Well, before that, we get to see a shot of him skulking around behind the back of the van, and then Toya starts the engine, and I was like, she's going to go for the second victim. Another vehicular manslaughter charge.
Yeah.
So just remind us quickly, give us a potted history of Spider.
Okay, so Spider is the nephew of Emily. I think he's...
Emily Bishop.
Emily Bishop. I can't remember whether she's Ernest.
He's Ernest's relative or hers.
Yeah, but
Right,
I think she's one of the Nugents.
Irrelevant.
Oh no, obviously it must be Emily's, mustn't it? Because he's
Emily's
Nugent.
sister's
Stupid
son or
idiot.
brother's son.
Well, Emily's got many sisters and brothers, I think. So he is.
I don't care exactly how he's
you wanted a
related.
potted history.
But I didn't need the family tree.
Speaking of pot, he is a bit of a druggie and a protester, but in a fun way. He came onto the street in 1997, about 6 months after the Battersbys, and Toya immediately gets very smitten with him, doesn't she?
She was a young teenage,
very impressionable young
girl,
young lady,
and he was a bit older, a bit cool. He'd been around the world. He was a stinky hippie.
Yeah, and he's based on Swampy, who was a protester who was in the news a lot
Very
in the
famous.
UK at the time, and
Chain themselves to trees.
so she gets totally smitten with him, but he doesn't really see it for a few years at least, does he?
Because she's younger.
Yeah,
he kind of sees her as a little sister, sort of.
5 to 10 years younger. I can't remember. Yeah, exactly. He sees her as an ally in his cause for fighting for the planet, but not romantically linked. There's
Just follows him around like a puppy dog.
Yeah, and joining in his protest and pouring antifreeze on the Norwegian prawns at Furman's freezers.
Yeah.
And all sort of fun stuff. But eventually, he kind of grows to see her as a woman, and in the 1999 summer eclipse, they're there camping out on the red wreck, and they miss the eclipse because they're getting up to hanky panky in the tent, aren't they?
Shagging and shagging.
Exactly right, Summer's robot, and they were definitely herbal fags as well. That's kind of it. He ends up. There's a story where he starts working for the man, doesn't he? He works at the benefits office.
He works for the council too, yeah.
Yeah.
Then he grows to hate himself.
Going against all his principles, exactly. He grows to hate himself because of all the people who he believes should be getting benefits, but he's having to tell them, no, sorry, you don't qualify for them. And he eventually kind of jumps on the tables and goes, oh, I don't believe in any of this, I quit. And then he disappears off, and then he comes back again a few years later. And whisks Toya away to London, where they run a juice bar together, I think. And that was the last that we heard of Spider. I think he might have got a couple of shout-outs in the intervening years, but that's pretty much it. So this, as they mentioned on today's episode, was the first time that these two characters had seen each other for 17 years. And just... I can't. When he said it, I was like, has it really been that long? That's a long time to be away from the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember how long Jenny Bradley had been away before she came back, but it's got to be fairly comparable. Maybe that's a bit less than Jenny was, but
not as long as Jed Stone.
See, to me, Spider is firmly in the modern Corrie camp, because he came in, 1997, which was the turning point for Coronation Street with Brian Parker's producer. And I kind of think anybody who's been in the, air quotes, modern Corrie,
yeah,
even if they come back, they've not really been away that long. But yeah, 17 years, it's a really long time. But he, to me, was exactly the same as he was back then. Did you get that?
He didn't seem to have changed at all.
Spider? And that was one concern that I had when it was announced that he was coming back. I thought, oh, what if he's different? This is where my prediction for the beginning of the year was different, because I imagined that he was going to come back and he would have, changed and then
sold out.
Yeah, sold out, exactly. But then getting involved in Maria's campaign would help him see the error of his ways and then be back to old Spider by the end of the storyline. But no, he was just the same as he used to be. He's a little bit dopey, isn't he?
He is a bit, yeah.
And he's got his scraggy jumper on and his silly rainbow hat and everything, and I absolutely...
Fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what you're wearing.
Thank you. I was really, really, really happy to see him. It made my evening having Spider back again on my birthday week as well. I'm loving it. Anyway, that's who Spider is. For anybody that's not sure, I have recently retweeted our character profile on Spider, which you can see or listen to on our YouTube channel. So if you want to know more, go and listen to that.
So Spider jumps into the cab.
Yeah, and he's just basically saying, well, you put out the call for your old protesting mates, and here I am.
Gondor heeds your call.
I don't think that Toya actually contacted Spider, did they?
No.
But he found out about it. You know where Spider found out about it? On the web. That's a genuine laugh, everybody. So she says he's all for kind of stirring things up even more, but Toya's kind of realised by this point that probably somebody who's on bail for murder should be keeping their nose clean, and she has to de-escalate it a little bit, and she says to Spider, oh yeah, I'm on bail for murder at the moment, and he's like, oh, okay then. But what we're going to do is get out, we're going to butter up the van driver, the lorry driver, and make it clear to the council that if they don't meet our demands, then it's going to lead to further action. You can tell he's got this off pat,
done it
hasn't
before.
He? Been there, done that. So they go and sit in the gardens later, and having the two of them sitting there next to each other on the bench, it was just like old times, having Georgia Taylor and Martin Hancock having these conversations. It was so lovely. Sorry, Imran. Toya might not have got over him, but no, I have it. I sorely, dearly miss Imran, and I wish that we weren't in this situation. But if they're gonna get rid of one of my favourite characters,
they've got to give you something.
They've got to give me something in return, and this was a pretty decent bargain, Coronation Street.
I can't believe he's dead.
I would have Imran over Spider, but
we didn't get the choice, did we? Nobody asked our opinion.
But I'm very happy to have Spider. So they go to Victoria Gardens later. and I'm lost where we are completely in our notes. And she and Leanne's there as well, and says, look, you can't save the planet if you're banged up in jail. And she clops off. Spider says, yes, I agree. Spider says,
well, what have you been up to?
oh yeah, that's
right. And she tells him.
Yeah, she gives him a little history of what she's been up to since she's been saw each other last.
It's like, well, I was in Casualty for a bit. And then,
yeah, I did a few short films. My
character went a bit mad in that. Yeah, I was in a film about domestic abuse. I was the abuser.
Oh, spoiler.
Because
women can
do it too.
Yeah.
I believe a woman can do anything she wants.
So woman stand. Woman.
Exactly. So she said I trained as a councillor, got married, wanted a baby. Yeah, that was quite important.
Really wanted a baby.
Really wanted a baby.
Someone might say that the reason I'm
get in my belly
trouble for murder is because I really wanted a baby.
Mm-hmm. So in the cafe later, Kelly is filling Asher in a little bit about what she knows about Spider, because Kelly doesn't really know, does she?
Well, she just was told by Leanne that it's Toya's ex.
Yeah.
And then Roy butts in. Yeah,
Roy kind of, his ears prick up a little bit when the name Spider comes up in conversation. But I still think that his reaction to hearing that Spider was back was a little bit muted.
Why?
Well, you'd have thought he'd have been like, oh, is Spider back or anything? He's just said, oh yes, he's a very decent chap.
He's a very principled young man.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 17 years ago.
They were both very principled together back in the day, so I would have thought that Roy might have wanted to go and say hello to him or something.
He's like, he'll be here. Everyone comes to the cafe eventually.
Yeah, they come to me.
Yep.
Anyway,
it's like a merchant in a game. You got to stock up.
Anyway, it sounds like Spider has been up to exactly the same stuff as before. He's talks about his protests and everything that he's been doing.
What has he achieved? That's what I want to know. Is he saved a newt or
how many planets have you saved
at
the moment?
This planet is still in peril. So
one might say that things have got worse since you were in the programme last Spider. You've been slacking off a little bit.
The main common denominator here is you. Maybe you should give up protesting and see what happens then.
Well, Martin Hancock was on this morning. The
TV show.
Yes. And he said that it was really interesting bringing Spider back at this time because everything that he was talking about 25 years ago is still very relevant, if not more so now. It's the global warming, climate change has got worse. It's more of a hot topic, and it's almost a little bit like Spider coming back now is saying, yeah, I warned you about this. Look at the situation that we're in now. So
that reminds me, because I was listening to a podcast today about Ted Kaczynski, who was the Unabomber, who, if you didn't know, he was a sort of serial killer, kind of. Well, he was a serial killer in America.
Of a serial killer.
Because he didn't go and stab somebody in the face. He blew people up. He sent bombs to places.
Right.
So it was a bit hands-off. But
hands-off serial killer.
He did a big manifesto about technology and how we're killing the planet, and we need to stop doing it. And I was like, and this was about the same kind of era. And I was like, he was right. We are killing the planet, and we are technology is taking over. Ted Kaczynski was right. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen now? What does that mean for the world? We need to set him free, and he can become the president.
Yeah,
that's just my suggestion. He's killed a lot less people than some others that are in office.
Mm-hmm. Summers Robot, what do you think about technology taking over?
Mad for it.
No, you would say that, wouldn't you? Going to be the Matrix, I tell you. So anyway, Toya is speaking to Spider, and she's saying, look, I got a lot of demons in my head at the moment. I'd committed myself to a future with Imran and Alfie. It was all torn away from me. And then she starts crying, and even Spider's welling up as well. It was very, very sweet. And so Toya says, look, what I can't remember. She says, where are you living at the moment? And he still says London, but he's come up here to see some people. I can't remember exactly how it happens, but she says, come and stay with me anyway. You'd actually be doing me a bit of a favour because I'm so lonely at the moment. And he says, okay, but I'll move out if things get a bit weird. So we cut to them in the flat later. It doesn't, no pussyfooting around. It gets weird pretty quick. So they're up in the flat later. Spider is having a shower and complimenting Toya on her incredible shower head. So I don't know what he's used to.
Well, she says that was Imran's doing.
Oh yeah, Imran likes a good
shower. And
shower.
I'll tell you what else Imran's doing.
What?
Vegetarian lasagna. not vegan lasagna.
Oh yeah.
He must have put his foot down about the cheese. He's like, I'm not having vegan cheese.
So yeah, they were there, and he's coming out. He's wearing a dressing gown. Is he wearing Imran's dressing gown? Possibly. And they just have a friendly hug, and there is literally no spark of romance at all yet, exactly. But they have a absolutely platonic hug. Who should happen to walk in at the time?
What a handy coincidence.
Yes, exactly. But Kelly, she's walking in. The door is probably even left open, I don't know, which isn't a very sensible thing to do once you've had a shower. But she takes one look at it and goes, "Oh, I see, you got over Imran pretty quickly, haven't you? I thought I trusted you, Toya." Blah, 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 blah. Off she goes before Toya can explain what's going on. But the episode ends quite nicely, where things are just kind of nice and cozy in the flat, really, between them. Spider's telling Toya that she's a good person, things will get better for her. Then she goes off to prepare a vegan lasagna for him, like you said. And then this is the last bit at the end of the end of week mystery, and he gets out his phone.
Then what's he do?
Well, what we thought. Because you'd made a prediction before, hadn't you? Do you want to remind us about...
what was it?
You said that Elsie was going to be his daughter.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, if they end the week with him picking up his phone and like the wallpaper there, or the lock screen is a picture of Elsie, then it would be just like amazing, absolutely amazing. But it's not. It's still, it's still possible that Elsie's his daughter, but that
would be
for the
weird
moment,
and make him into a deadbeat dad.
That would be a massive soap coincidence. But no, what he's got is the person that he was coming to see, he phones them up and says, "Look, I've been waylaid a little bit, but this thing that we're organising, it's still on. I'll talk to you on Monday about it." So
well, I'll be there to listen in, Spider.
What's he up to, Gemma?
What's the plan? Who does he know? What's it? Is it nefarious? Is it good? Is it bad?
One might say that if he's a filthy protester, then it probably is going to be nefarious.
Boring.
But he doesn't care about being nefarious if he
but
thinks that what he's doing
boring,
is right.
Like, oh yeah, it's a bat protest.
I mean...
Or is it going to be something juicy like, oh, I'm meeting up with my lover?
I think it's just going to be something fun.
Who's Nicky?
I don't think it's going to be anything... It can't be anything that as viewers we're going to watch and go, oh, he's a baddie now. If they've turned Spider into a baddie, I'll be massively disappointed. But from what we've seen from him today, he is just as good as he ever was.
Is he up to something with a character that we know already? Is he here for another reason? Is it as much of a coincidence as it seems?
I don't think it's anything to do with anything that we know about already. I mean, it could be related to Maria, although I say keep Maria out of this story. I know it's fairly difficult to keep Maria, the environmental councillor, out of a story with Spider, but it doesn't need her.
I kind of almost would like Spider to have a go at Toya, at Maria for all of the stuff that she does that's quite hypocritical, and say, you're just a bandwagoner.
He totally would as well, wouldn't he?
Because he does seem like a bit of a no compromise sort of guy. And I would imagine that there's pretty much nobody around who's probably listening to this podcast who he would not find fault with some element of the way that you live your life. Like you don't do this, or you don't do that, or you eat meat, or you don't turn your lights off when you leave the room, or you have a light bulb instead of a candle. Like, because he was saying, like, he lives in a flat share and stuff, so he obviously is, to me, that feels very much, for the age of the person that he is, makes me feel like his focus is not on material goods or, acquiring property or money or anything. He spends all of his time sort of doing the bare minimum to scrape by so that he can put all of his focus into his activism.
Yeah. I
kind of imagine too, that he's got like a massive Instagram following or something, where he like talks about the planet, and he has all these groupies and stuff. It'd be really funny. Can you imagine?
I don't think Spider is on
no,
Instagram.
I don't think. But that would have been a really interesting angle for them to have taken. Like, imagine if instead of Kelly being there and seeing him when they came up with the bin lorry, imagine if the first time those teen girls had seen him was like in the street, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's Cyber Spider. He's like he like shows you how to recycle things, and he taught me how to make glitter out of carrots for my makeup. He's like the most amazing, coolest ecological warrior ever. He was gluing himself to the floor.
Spider would hate that.
He told Priti Patel
very
that she
humble.
had a big environmental footprint, and so on.
Maybe it is going to I want to see whatever it is that he's up to, because I don't want it to be one of these things that we just hear him plotting and then come back from it later. And there's only so many places that he can go. Like, maybe, is he going to do something outside the police station or outside of Chariot Square? Not that we've got an outside of Chariot Square set.
Is he going to go and protest Are they still doing this bypass? Are they still building these houses that Sally wanted to live in?
Gosh, I don't know, actually. I can't remember where we got to with that, because I'll
tell you what they need to do.
I thought
sort out the bloody ring road.
I think that they might have had something that stopped that, but I can't remember for the life of me what it is. But you might be right. He could be the one that puts an end to that. If he goes to the hotel, maybe he protests her oysters, which we know that they do well there. Maybe
They're
she has
living,
Norwegian
breathing,
oysters.
thinking beings, and you just eat them alive. It's rude.
Yeah.
Very humiliating for Toya to be sacked by Sarah, who is the world's worst.
Oh, we finished talking about Spider now.
Go on, what else
What do you think? I've been gushing about Spider. Do you like Spider as much as I do?
I think he's great. I think he's fun. I like these unique characters.
There's nobody like him.
It was super refreshing to have a character appear on the show, and it's not, oh, he's going to cause a stir on the street. He's a ladies' man, but he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
All the women are going to go crazy, and he's going to cause a few ructions in people's relationships. But deep down inside, he just wants to find Mrs. Right. Who's it going to be? Let's find out on Coronation Street.
You're right, it was. All you need is Spider's back, and that immediately, for people of a certain age, brings back so many nostalgic memories.
And like I said, I don't know if I said this when we were predicting him coming back, or if I said it when we were talking about his return, but it really does feel like a very timely point in history for Spider to be back on the street, because just as eco warriors were in the forefront of sort of popular culture and people's minds back when Spider originally was a sort of conceived as a character, it's even more now. But I would say people are a lot less tolerant of these kind of protests and the way they do it, because they're a lot more disruptive now than they used to be. Well, like we were saying, Spider, one of his stories was he went to the Red Wreck and chained himself off a tree. And that's all funny and quaint because you don't interact with a tree. Like, you don't care if somebody's locked themselves to a tree. In fact, a lot of people supported that because they didn't want the tree to get knocked down. But these days, you've got people throwing red paint onto government buildings and gluing themselves to roads and sitting in the middle of motorways to try to stop people. And it's very, very much more disruptive. And people are very angry at a lot of these protesters for inconveniencing them, which is funny because that's the point. That's the whole point. Like, no one's going to pay attention to you if you chain yourself to a tree these days, but they will pay attention to you if you sit in front of their car when you're trying to get to the hospital or take your kids to school or go to work.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of the younger characters like your Ashers and your Ninas and everyone carry on being on his side, because I think younger people have really been inspired by the likes of Greta Thunberg to make a difference, and by gum we need people like that to help save the planet. Isn't
it really actually interesting that none of the younger characters have had a peep into this story yet? You've got Maria, Toya, and now Spider.
Well, Asher and that were at the protest, weren't they? Because one of the things that happened is they joined in and they kicked his phone away.
Yeah, I know, but alright, Michael, my point is, I think younger people are a lot more worried and a lot more motivated and a lot angrier about the environment than a lot of older people.
I think Summer needs to get involved with this, take her mind off all her problems at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think she's
like,
got her head
screwed on. You think it's bad you're not going to Oxford, the planet's going to blow up.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't be in Oxford.
I was thinking earlier, like, are there any other characters that I'd like to see him connect with quickly as well? Like, I'd quite like to see him and Ken have a story together, because I think they must have had scenes together back then, and that would also get the discussions with about Emily coming up. I'd like to think that at some point in the next week we'll get some kind of update on how Emily's doing. Who else is that? I can't think who's around now. I mean, I suppose Maria was around at the same time as Spider before. Tyrone, Kevin. There's still quite a few. It was only 20 years ago. We still got a decent number of people here.
Not a lot. He didn't come back for them.
No, he doesn't. He's back for Toya. Do you think there is going to be any romance? Because they've obviously had the misunderstanding. Do you reckon? Are we going to get a bit of a snog here?
I don't know, but...
I kind of do and I kind of don't, because I have not at all got over Imran's death yet, and I think if Toya moved on that quickly to Spider, I would be a little bit disappointed with her. But the other half of me is going, yes, please get back together again. She's alone, she's moved on, Imran's dead, there's no bringing him back. I love Toya and Spider as a couple. They were really just with, and it's a bit like the Nick and Leanne thing, isn't it? They also got together in 97, 98 time. Yeah, like they've been apart for a little bit, and I suppose you could say the same with Tracy and Steve as well. Although they were never
always meant to be.
It was more Tracy was obsessed with Steve a little bit for a tiny bit in the mid-90s. But yeah, having that long-term character development and romantic development and everything, and I don't know how long Spider's going to be in the show, but I mean, I tell you what, if they do put Toya and Spider together, he's got an awful lot of support and fans, and there's a lot of positivity behind him at the moment, and Toya needs someone like that. They can't just pair her up with Leanne and hope that everyone's going to start loving her, because I don't think Leanne's one of the most popular characters on the internet at the moment either, but it could really work. Although, I mean, she was also with Imran, wasn't she? And that didn't necessarily do a whole lot for her popularity, whereas everybody loved Imran. I really, really hope that something happens that makes everybody love Toya. Because I thought that she was great this week. I thought that when she was giving it some to that person on the phone on Wednesday, I was like, oh, yeah, you tell him. And when she tells Sarah to find her backbone, I was like, yeah, you tell her, Toya. And when she gets up into the cab with the bin man and the bin lorry and everyone was cheering, I was going, yes, this is brilliant. I can see how to some people she might come across as just a little bit mardy and stuff, but I didn't care. I thought that she was great this week. But yeah, I think a romance would be... It seems kind of too obvious almost. I love it as them being friends, and having those scenes at the end of the episode today where they're just chilling out in the flat was absolutely lovely, with not a spark of romance between them. But yeah, maybe it's a missed opportunity if they don't put them together, or maybe it's too obvious. I don't know. But you're saying it is going to happen. You reckon?
Yep.
You reckon? Will it take long?
Yep.
Will it be a case of she'll go for a kiss and then she'll realise that she is betraying the memory of Imran and then pushes him away, or could this be like a long-term new couple we're looking at here?
I don't think it's a long-term. In my mind, he comes back and he's like, oh, Toya, here's my kid. Auntie Emily died and she left me this baby in her will.
What?
And I don't want it because I'm going to Peru. So do you want this baby? Because if not, I'll just throw it. I won't throw it away. I'll recycle it, I promise.
You mentioned earlier about Sarah sacking Toya, and what a humiliation that must be.
It's like, shut up, Sarah. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know.
I just don't think, if I was Toya, I could not take Sarah Lou seriously as my boss.
No, I know.
Like, she was a little girl when I first moved to the street. She clearly doesn't know what she's doing. Carla is by far the trouser wearer in that factory. And to have her not even involved in my dismissal would just be so utterly humiliating.
It's like, you can't fire me because I quit.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that I really liked Toya doing this week was not taking any of Beth's bait as well when she was trying to dig for gossip on the trial. Beth wasn't too obnoxious.
But she was treating it like it was like we would do. Like, oh, tell me the
what's
gossip.
going on.
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm so excited for this storyline.
Yeah. It's I thought that this was just lovely this week. But I think we better move on, Gemma, onto another story that we're actually quite enjoying. Is it still going well? Game of Thorns.
More protesting.
Over to you.
On Monday, Peter says Thorne's hearing tomorrow is coming up. And what?
Let's just make it sound like he's getting his cochlear implant tomorrow. It's all going to be fine.
And he's got this evidence from the nurse, and Thorne keeps texting him, trying to bribe him, and he doesn't want to. And Carla's like, maybe you should. I mean, £100,000 is a lot of money.
Think how many shoes that I could buy.
She was wearing some horrible shoes recently.
Carla's shoes. She's like these. This is like these
giant black
platform.
Yeah, they look like Spice Girls boots.
Yeah,
they were bad. Maybe there must be like super expensive designer ones. Like, did you see those Crocs that I was showing everybody?
No.
Valencia Crocs. They're basically a Croc, but with a tiny little stick on the bottom, on the back of it, to make it into a pair of high heels, and they're £450.
You're not interested in getting any, I hope.
They were horrible. They're the most ugly things I've ever seen. Simon tells Peter later that he should just take the money and it could change their lives. And Peter's like, oh, maybe. Then
It's like something out of a game show, isn't it? You're going to gamble, you're going to take the money. What do you think, audience? Take the money.
Take their cash. Take their cash. Peter drives off. He goes past Victoria Court and Thorne is there lurking around. And it turns out that Peter's having a secret meeting with Aggie's colleague.
Oh yes, this was it was supposed to be around the back of the hospital, wasn't it? But it was really clearly, obviously, the set that's round the side of Underworld. It wasn't supposed to be at Underworld. He drove off. He's telling, and the fact that the nurse was there, but it was the steps at the side of Underworld. Bad. That was terrible. Coronation Street. I hope I haven't upset any set people when saying this, but don't use sets to make something else. Back to you.
Peter says, I might just give up actually about this Thorne thing because I'm fed up. And the nurse is like, what? I've gone through all this stuff so you can give up? I don't think so. You've been bribed. And she gets in a huff with him and clops away. And Thorne is still doing a stakeout and Simon walks past. So he follows Simon into the cafe and pretends he's looking for Peter. And he wants to finish off a deal with him. And he told me to meet him here, but he hasn't shown up. Simon, can you call Peter and tell him the deal's off? Because I'm fed up with him. And so Simon says, oh, wait a minute. And he tries to get in touch with Peter, but he can't. Never mind, says Thorne. Why don't... You've missed out a load of stuff here. He tricks Simon into thinking that Peter had agreed to do the deal with him, to take the money and give him the dictaphone. So he says, look, Simon, I've transferred the £100,000 into your dad's account, so give me the dictaphone. And Simon goes, okay, here you go. So Simon then meets up with his dad later and goes, guess what, Dad? You've got 100 grand and I gave him the dictaphone just like you wanted. And Peter says, what the hell are you talking about? You've been conned, you idiot.
I love how mad Peter was at Simon at the end of this episode.
Like he didn't give any allowances.
Both barrels, didn't he?
He was like, I know you're my son and you're a stupid little kid, but how could you be such an idiot? You ruined my life. He's like, you're gullible and stupid.
Daft Apeth.
Yes, he was total daft Apeth. Yeah, he was being so. I mean, Simon is a man now, isn't he? He's 18, so it's not like you're kind of abusing a kid or anything.
But he shouldn't.
He was not holding back.
It's like, he didn't even have my bank details, you moron. And Simon's like, I was only trying to help. And that doesn't work. He says, this was my only chance to teach that spoiled scumbag a lesson and you've stolen it from me. Rah! And Simon goes off in a sad huff. So Wednesday, Peter's still banging on about it. He's still blaming Simon. And Carla's like, look, it's done now, there's nothing you can do about it.
He's blaming him. He's backed down a little bit. I think he's kind of realised in the cold light of day that maybe he was a little bit harsh.
Maybe he was.
So he's Carla's trying to kind of gee him on and say, look, let's just forget about it. It's done now. We've got the hearing later. And so you carry on.
Well, I don't know. Wait. Simon finds Peter and Carla and they've just found out that this... medical council's not going to go ahead because they didn't have any evidence because it was given.
Well,
and Peter's like, right, I'm going. I want to be by myself. Thank you very much. He goes brooding off, and then he goes to the pub, and that's where Thorne finds him, and he says, I want a follow-up consultation to discuss your progress. And he's kind of like looking at him all disgusted, like, oh yeah, I thought you'd find you here, you alcoholic.
I love this scene. This is a really good kind of dialogue scene between
This was
them.
great, yeah. It really made you feel really angry and mad that Thorne is such an arrogant arsehole, isn't he? He's like, I just want to see about your progress, about the operation that I did, and the reason that you're alive is because of me. I want to see how you're doing. Are you eating well? Are you exercising? Just wanted to make sure it was worth the effort. And Peter tells him he's got a god complex, and And then Thorne says that your alcoholism is an inherent weakness in mind and spirit, whereas I am an asset to society, but your kind just ruin it. Look after yourself. Bye, loser. Leaves the pub. And then Peter catches Thorne joking on the phone and saying, oh, yeah, just told this idiot to do one. And he gets really mad. Thorne's sitting in his car, isn't he?
Yeah, he gets into his car.
And he's like on his phone laughing about getting one over on Peter.
No, I think he's outside of the car at first, then he gets back in. It doesn't really matter.
Peter's like, get out of this car so I can beat you up. And then he drags a wheelie bin in front of the car, like, Thorne's like, I can't get out because there's too much rubbish in this bin. If only somebody would arrange to have it taken away.
Burn this rubbish.
Oh.
Thorne would definitely be on the side of the council in this, wouldn't they?
He'd be like, oh, look, I'm going to be dead by the time the planet explodes. I didn't care about recycling. So, Thorne won't get out of the car.
I thought that, actually, Thorne's probably all for recycling, because as somebody who does these transplants, that's basically organ recycling,
You can't
isn't
recycle a liver once you've taken it out, though.
No, but he's recycled somebody else's liver and gave it to Peter's.
It's true. So, Thorne won't get out of the car.
And he's recycled Peter's liver into foie gras. He's all about reusing. Get him on your side, Maria.
Thorne won't get out of the car, so Peter opens the boot, or the trunk for Americans, and gets out a golf club and attacks the wing mirror of the car. And then they start arguing through the window, and he's still not coming out of the car. So Peter says, I'll make it easy for you. And then he smashes the window and pulls Thorne out of the car. And then Ken and Adam come round and they're like,
what a handy coincidence.
what are you doing? You're an idiot. And Adam's like, oh, I'm his solicitor. I'll cover the excess on your car insurance plus the cost of the 3R, and he's not going to bother you again. And Thorne's like, fine, and drives off, really livid. And then Carla comes running over, but Peter's just still fuming. And Carla doesn't know where he's gone, keeps trying to contact him, gets voicemails. Then he comes home, and he's still knocked about this privileged Thorne being untouchable. Then on Friday, Simon's apologetic to Peter when he finds him in the bistro, and Peter's all sarcastic and completely blames Simon for what he's going through. Then later, Carla tells Peter she understands why he's angry, but he's got to let it go. And he says, oh, I've got a taxi job, I'm going. So he goes to the police station, and he finds out his fare is none other than Angry Nicky.
This is just... Yeah,
I wasn't
thrilled to see her again.
I thought we'd
It's
see
a
the
bit
back
like
of her.
Elaine when she showed up last week. It's like, really? He's still on the show. They still on the
Still
books,
trying
are
to
you?
find something interesting to do with this character.
Yeah.
Oh,
So what's
dear.
she doing at the police
So-
station?
In the cab, Nicky's like, I got in a fight when somebody recognised me from when I was a sex worker, and then the police came.
They attacked her, Gemma.
The police came
It's a
and they
miscarriage of justice.
the police came. They took me into custody and they let the bloke go because the whole system's rigged against people like me.
Prostitute.
No. And then she says,
Prostitute.
she says, I've missing my mum at the hospital now. That's another sob story I've got to tell you. By the way, my mum's sick. I'm really sad. Everyone's mean to me. And Peter's like, yeah, everyone's mean to me as well. I
Have
got
a free taxi ride.
I nearly got £100,000 when my kid's too stupid. So they basically just kind of egg each other on a little bit about how life is stacked against them. And she starts moaning about her mum, saying that she's not old enough to go to a care home, and she's been arguing with social workers and they don't care. And Peter says, oh look, here you go, have this taxi ride for free. And later on, Carla finds out what's happened in the pub. Sorry.
It's been a long day. Yeah, she's like saying, well, at least this has made you forget about what's going on with Mr. Thorne.
It's like, it hasn't made me forget. Then Daniel comes in and they say, oh, we met Nicky. And he says, I don't want to talk to her. No, don't want to talk to her.
Who says that? Oh, Daniel
Daniel's
says
like,
that, yes.
not her. Oh, I thought she wasn't in it anymore. Daisy wouldn't like it if I spoke to him.
What?
Her.
Exactly.
Oh, good, Nicky's back.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story.
I really, really, really hope that Nicky doesn't go anywhere near Daniel. I like Daniel. I like Daisy. we've not seen very much of them as a couple. Well, that's par for the course for Coronation Street, really. But I don't need yet again Nicky coming in and being a cat among those pigeons.
I don't want to, far be it from me to victim blame. I would never. But Nicky's story's weird, isn't it? She was out somewhere and somebody recognised her, and then they attacked her, and then she got arrested.
Yeah, that's her version of events.
What actually happened? I don't understand.
Wasn't it
because
just
she's kind of insinuating that she's got she got Thorne with the police recognise her somehow, and they treat her badly because of who she is, and they never take her side. Now, I've said before on the show that I know that this happens because I've had it both ways with the police. Like, when I was hanging around with my uncle's family and my cousin went missing, because of where the family lived, where my uncle lived, and how poor the family was. When the police came, they were actually really rude and dismissive. But when the police meet me when I'm in my own house, they're a lot nicer to me because the house is nicer. And I really think I never would have thought that was the case before it happened to me in person, and I would have sort of kind of assumed that whoever said that was the case was being a bit, exaggerating or. And it was just a couple of isolated incidents, and obviously that's not true of all police. But I kind of do believe Nicky here, where she's saying that the police judge her before anything's even happened and assume that it's her that's causing the problems if they've had dealings with her before and they know who she is.
Yeah, they know what
And I don't know how to combat this, because to a certain extent there are people who are more likely to cause trouble than others. But then you think about how much time would a policeman have to waste on? I'll take two carrots completely at random. Fizz and Mimi. Now, can you imagine Mimi? She's far of a higher status, isn't she? She's posher, she's richer, she's more privileged than Fizz. She would be a bigger pain in the arse for the police than Fizz would be, because she'd be like, "Oh, I know your boss. My husband used to play golf with him." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Am I making any sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, I agree.
You agree with what?
With your point.
You don't know what my point is, do you?
Sorry, I was just watching the cat because she was trying to catch a fly. I think she got it. By the way, I said on last week's podcast I wanted to watch that Man vs. Bee on Netflix. It's really good. I love it. I was laughing my head off it all week, wasn't I? Did you enjoy it?
It was funny.
Very funny stuff. I thought that... Sorry for not completely listening to everything you're saying there, but I know you do the same to me sometimes. I thought this was good. The lovely having Mr. Thorne back. That scene in the Rovers was excellent. I'm in two minds on whether the attacking his car with a 3-iron was necessarily the best thing to do to be, because it wasn't exactly any sort of moral victory for Peter, was it? It feels like having them engage in a battle of wits might have been a better conclusion to this. I mean, I assume it's still not over, and yes, it was very spectacular and kind of fun to have Peter attack the car and smash the wing mirror. And does he smash the window in as well? Yeah, I think he did. That was all fun to watch and everything, but have there been any consequences for Peter? No. He's just... I mean, he went to the police station the next episode, but it was just to pick up Nicky. I think that if I was Thorne, maybe I would have pressed charges against him for that. But he seems to have got away with it.
I thought it was very weird that he did back down immediately.
Who?
Thorne.
After what? After he
was like, "Oh, I'm going to make sure you get paid."
Yeah.
Shannon made a really good point on the Facebook group, because she was saying, Peter's like, "Oh, Thorne gets away with everything because he's so privileged," and then the next minute Peter's beating the crap out of, trying to beat the crap out of somebody, threatening them, smashing up the car, and then he gets away with it because of who his uncle, brother, who's Adam to him,
nephew,
and his dad. His relative is a solicitor who can get him out of trouble. Is that not privilege? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I found, speaking of privilege, there are interesting parallels here between this and the Corey and Kelly case, because that was the whole talking point around that last autumn, wasn't it? When Corey was able to, Stefan was able to provide this amazing legal team of one person, which was Sabine, to try and get Corey off of the murder charge, whereas Kelly, poor Kelly, the daughter of a seemingly penniless loan shark, wasn't able to afford anything. Yeah, that's how you know you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And that was all kind of part of the discussion there. So it didn't feel repetitive, but as I said, there are parallels to be drawn there.
Well, the theme of social injustice, and it all does tie into environmental justice and saving the planet, because people like Thorne aren't going to care about what happens because they'll just move. They've got the economic power to pay more for their food if the food prices go up.
Yeah.
Move somewhere where they're not going to be affected.
If the icebergs melt, just move further inland.
Honestly, it's true.
Do you think that this story's going on too long? Does Peter need to drop it now? Because I've seen some people saying, "Oh no, not this story again," but I'm not feeling that at all at the moment. Any opportunity I can get to watch Mr. Thorne on screen, I'm loving. And Peter is, pretty narked about this. And it's true that what Thorne was saying, I know he was using it to try and rile Peter up, but Thorne is responsible at the end of the day for Peter being alive. However, however nasty he is, he does owe him an awful lot. So Carla, when she's saying you need to drop this, I kind of on her side as well. What do you think?
I don't think that anybody owes like automatic reverence to somebody just because they're a doctor or
no, and it doesn't
whatever.
need to be reverence, and I think that Thorne does want to be revered. I think he even said, I don't do it for the praise, but I think he when it comes to Christmas and he kind of counts out how many cards he's got from his patients saying, "Oh, thank you, doctor, I wouldn't be here celebrating my family if it wasn't for you." But yeah, do you think that Peter should drop it, or does he? Is he right to still be protesting about what Thorne did after all this time?
I don't know. There's a difference between, I don't know where this is going, and I don't know where this is going. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes there's a story and you're like, anything could happen next. This is brilliant. I wonder what twists and turns will we see? And then there's like, I don't know, what is the point of this? Where is this going? How are we gonna, what's the story here? What's the story? Because it just feels like it's just Peter trying to get something out of Thorne he's not going to get. Where is it going to go? And what the hell is Nicky doing here?
I don't know how.
Are they going to turn into a pair of social justice warriors and go around helping working class people with their petty squabbles with rich people?
See, I wonder. Here we go then. So Nicky's going to become friends with Peter a little bit because it feels like they both had. They both had problems and that the world's been kind of down on them recently. I really, really, really hope that Peter doesn't employ the services of Nicky, shall we say, because he's only just got married recently and it can't be doing with him and Carla finding out that he's been with a sex worker or anything like that. But maybe they can be friends. Now, somebody who maybe might get a prostitute, Mr. Thorne.
You can't, yeah, okay.
Don't you think? Wouldn't it be interesting if he hires Nicky for a night of Rumpy Pumpy and, the pillow talk revolves around him confessing something to her related to Peter and she's able to use that as evidence against him?
That's a really good...
I know, I just come up with that one. That feels like that could happen.
Yeah, she could be the honeypot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that could actually be the making of Nicky.
Use her powers of sexiness for good.
Yeah, exactly. Not that I'm desperate for Nicky to stay. I absolutely will happy if she does one after this story. But there we go. There's my theory. As I say, I'm on a roll with my Spider predictions at the moment, or from the beginning of the year. Maybe you're right with this one. We will have to see. Talking about bullies, because Mr. Thorne is a bit of a wrong un. Tully and the bully storyline was going on at the beginning of this week. I don't think a whole lot happened, but this was the plan. Oh, this is the incense Frank plan, wasn't it? Which we definitely appreciated as a storyline title from Todd. Thank you very much. So, yeah, he says the Frank incense, or maybe we should call it incense Frank or whatever. But anyway, Todd is of the mind that they need to accelerate things if they want to catch Frank out in his bullying. He's like saying we can't just sit around waiting for him to bully someone, which is absolutely right. And George remembers back to a time when Frank flushed his head down the loo once at school after he spilled water on his shoe. So what we learn about Frank from this is he really doesn't like getting unnecessarily wet from things.
Well, he's like a cat.
This gives Todd an idea. So they're all.
I know what we can do. We can make him wet.
That's exactly right.
And see if he gets mad about it. And if he gets mad about it, it proves he's a bully.
Yeah. So they're in the cafe
logic.
later, and Frank ends up having a glass of iced tea over him. Is it Todd that spills it over him, I think?
Yeah.
To try and wind him up. And Frank,
he wasn't even asked for iced tea.
Frank goes absolutely... No, did he say... I don't know whether they said this or not. I don't know whether he said, I want a nice tea.
He ordered him...
It feels...
He ordered him an iced tea so he could pour it on him.
Yeah, I know, but he said, I thought you said an iced tea. But if Frank had said, can I have a nice tea?
You would never order a nice tea because you'd assume that all tea is nice.
Well, no, I just like, what do you fancy? Yeah, come to Roy's for
a nice cup of tea.
What do you fancy? Oh, I'll have a nice tea, please. That seems like it should roll off the tongue.
I want some oolong tea.
But anyway, he gets iced tea spilled over him, and he does get absolutely fuming for a few seconds.
Not the wrapper, the drink.
No. He's absolutely mad for a few seconds, and then he's like, oh, actually, it's fine. It's an old shirt anyway. I don't really mind. Let me go home and get changed. So, like, the plan is foiled. Yes, because he actually is definitely a nice guy. Sean goes home. Sean is at home at the moment.
It's a new scene.
Yes. I've got the things in the wrong order here. Anyway, George and Todd... I've lost what I'm going on completely. George and Todd come home, and Eileen overhears George coming up with other ideas for plans to catch Frank out. And Eileen's like, what's going on? Leave Frank alone. He's lovely. Sean, you need to get over... George, you need to get over this. So Wednesday starts off the episode with Sean being in a good mood because he's being treated to a cheeky bistro lunch. George is struggling to muster any enthusiasm for this because obviously he hates Frank, and he says, Sean, just don't get too heavy with things from Frank. Don't get too involved because it's best way to avoid getting hurt. And Sean says, Frank would never hurt me. He's lovely. He's gorgeous. So this is when George has a classic Corrie misunderstanding because he goes outside number 11. Frank's there just for whatever reason, standing in the middle of Viaduct Street on his phone saying, you're neither hot nor cold, so because you are lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. When I close my hand, it becomes a fist, and if I want, I will use it against you. Yes, I went back and rewatched that scene to get the line there. And George thinks that, he's threatening somebody. I'm going to get on the blower to Sean straight away.
Elaborate manner.
Yeah, I'm going to get on blower to Sean straight away. Need to see you right now. So he summons Sean back to number 11 where he tells him exactly how much of a bully Frank is. And he was when he was at school. So this is the first time of Sean finding out about Frank's nefarious past. And poor Sean, he thought he was finally onto a winner with this guy. And he's kind of struggling to process the information. But he fairly quickly kind of says, oh yeah, I guess so. That makes sense why you were being so weird recently, George. And George says, I don't take any pleasure in this, Sean, but I thought I needed to let you know. So Sean goes back to the pub, splits up with Frank. That's all over and done with pretty quickly. And George sees Frank in the cafe later, and Frank tells him all about the breakup. He says, George, you have stirred the pot here. You told Sean about me being a bully. Why did you do this at school? I'm not like this anymore. And George says, well, actually, I heard you talking to someone on the phone in a threatening manner. But this is where the classic Corrie misunderstanding comes out. It turns out it was just a film quote. Do you remember what film it was supposed to be?
No, why didn't you find this out?
I don't know, it doesn't matter. From some gang film, you know. One of those
Gangs
sorts
of
of films.
New York.
It might have been Gangs of New York, actually. That does ring a bell. But anyway, whoops-a-daisy. Oh, I'm really sorry, Frank. And Frank's like, oh, the worst thing about all this is Sean being so quick to think that I was a bully. So George goes back to number 11 and tries to talk to Sean about it. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry, I might have made a mistake about the phone call. So Sean then speaks to Frank in the Rovers later. And Frank's really making a massive mountain out of a molehill about all of this and saying, oh, Sean, I can't believe you used to think I was a bully. So he was playing a massive victim here. He was like saying, I was a bully then and not one now. Us splitting up hurt me a lot more than I thought it would. So they agree to make up, and now Sean is obviously in Frank's debt here. And it seems like this is possibly part of Frank's plan. But I don't know whether Frank has said anything so far to make it out like, ha 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 ha, I've got you exactly where I want you. But we get the line from Sean at the end of the episode where it's like, oh, I'm going to take whatever George says with a pinch of salt now, which just kind of is soap talk for George is actually going to really find Frank doing something horrible.
And I won't
Frank
believe
is going to be
him.
vile to him, and I'm not going to believe him.
Do you reckon this is why George was phoning Toya on Friday? Toya, I need to talk to somebody. I'm so bummed out. No one will believe me.
Could be. I don't know.
Are you free for a chat? I just want to go over what happened.
So do you, I mean,
I never remember. Sorry about your husband. Are you all right? Are you all right? I'm just checking in.
I hope it doesn't go that way. I don't know how I want this to end particularly. It feels like it is.
Why
just
are you
going,
so emotionally invested in Frank
I just
not
really
being
like
a
Frank.
bully?
Because I want him to stay in the programme. I like a nice Scouser. I think he feels like, he's a decent chap. And there aren't many decent chaps on Corrie at the moment.
He's not a decent chap, he's a bully.
He was a bully. He's changed. I'd love to believe this. But it's just the trajectory the story is going, it seems to be like, yeah, he's gonna out himself, or he's gonna say something that shows that he's not changed, which is a shame really, because I'd like Sean to stay together with someone. I felt so bad for Sean when he was saying, oh yeah, I'm used to relationships going wrong, so it's no surprise that Frank's actually a wrong un. I just thought that was sad. Any thoughts on this one, Gemma?
Nope.
You over to Mimi. Go on.
On Wednesday, Fizz is cleaning the house because Mimi's coming and she's a bit nervous. And this reminds me of one time when your parents came to visit. I think this is like, do you know what I'm going to say?
No, I can't remember.
No, I don't think you did.
No.
I was really nervous because your mum was very attentive to the cleanliness and tidiness of wherever we were.
Yes.
And they were coming down, and I was really stressed because I was running a bit late. And they rang the doorbell, and I wasn't expecting them to be there yet. And I was standing in the kitchen, and I literally screamed, "Don't let them in!" really loudly. And the kitchen is literally next to the door, so I don't know whether they heard me or not.
Well, there was a massive like the fan for the vent.
There was a vent. They probably did hear me screaming, "Don't let them in." Anyway, so she's nervous because she's worried that Mimi's might be a bit judgmental. Mimi? Judgmental? I don't think so. Hope comes down in a strop because she doesn't want to be bridesmaid anymore, and she doesn't want to wear any of these stupid dresses. And it turns out that she hasn't been liking to wear dresses recently.
I don't know whether that's going anywhere at all, but just the line that Fizz says, where she's like, what is it with Hope and these dresses recently? Makes it seem like that's the opening for, is something going to go on with Hope there about she's going to, I don't know.
Fizz takes out the veil and the clip has snagged it and it's torn. And Evelyn's like, no one's going to notice. And Fizz goes, Mimi's going to notice. So she takes it to the factory so Beth can help her fix it up. And she's feeling that it's all going wrong. She should call it off. But when she puts the fixed veil on, she cheers up. But then Phil comes in and nearly sees her wearing it. And then at home he says, oh, I didn't see it. Don't worry. Don't get stressed. That's the last thing I want. So on Friday, Fizz is giving Evelyn a pep talk about control your impulses. When Mimi comes, don't say anything. Control your impulses. And then Mimi arrives, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She's all happy about the wedding. She's got her dog. And there really was the great visual metaphor of Evelyn's dog, Cerberus, the lanky greyhound / whippet, I can't remember which one it is, and Mimi with a tiny little chihuahua designer dog with a holding it under her arm. And
they have a dog off, don't they?
Yeah, and she's like, oh, well, I'm sure they're going to be the best of friends. And she's so excited. She keeps saying, "Oh, Phil's second wedding."
Yeah, she really.
She keeps
the look on
hammering that
Fiz's
home.
face when she
Like,
does it, she's just like,
"Of course, Fizz, you might be my favourite
Fizz
of
is
his
biting
wives,
her
but you'll
tongue.
never be the first." She grudgingly invites Mimi to the bistro to help sort out the seating plan. And meanwhile, Mimi's on the phone going, "I simply cannot find anywhere that will let me take Coco. All of the boutique hotels are booked up at the last minute." And so eventually they have to invite her to stay, even though they don't want her to, and there's no space. And Mimi says, "I think we're going to get on like a house on fire." And Evelyn says, "Oh, have you met Hope, have you?"
That was a great
brilliant.
line. That was
Mimi had so many brilliant lines.
Yeah.
Like there was a bit later on where she says, let's just put this trauma behind us, shall we?" Which is really funny. And she keeps sort of saying that she was good at balancing. She used to be She could have been a gymnast. She could have been a gymnast.
And I mean, we didn't know whether Mimi was coming back or not because, I mean, her name's been bandied about a little bit for the last few weeks. But I didn't know for absolute sure that she was going to be back. And then when she came in the door, I thought, oh, I hope that she's as good as I remember. Because in my head, I don't know whether is it a case of the rose-tinted specs. It was only like 6-7 months ago she was in it before, wasn't it? But I remember absolutely loving her before. And it could have all gone wrong and I could have been disappointed, but I thought that she was amazing. I just thought she was so funny. And I'm sure the people that hated her before, because there were certainly a few, this didn't do anything to improve their opinion of her. But she's just wonderful. She's very, very Hyacinth Bouquet-ish, isn't she?
Yes, I've heard a lot of people saying that she's just a knockoff. But I'm sorry,
There's
but
nobody else like
find
her
her
on Coronation Street.
I love
She's
her.
such a caricature.
Her versus Evelyn is perfect.
She's not a long-term character, and I mean, maybe if she were to stay on the curry for a long
might be
time,
annoying.
she might start to grate a little. But for small doses,
Great.
And again, looking at where this storyline is likely going, i.e., Phil and Fizz splitting up. And then Fizz getting back with Tyrone again. This could well be both Phil and Mimi could be in the last chance saloon here. So let's just enjoy them while we've got them.
So Hope is still refusing to put on her bridesmaid dress, and Mimi finds it very charming, and she's like, "You must do what your mother tells you." And she doesn't seem to.
I thought that.
I thought she would spank her or something.
Yeah, I thought that
she's like, whatever. Well, that seems to be the very sort of permissive parenting that Phil probably had when he was a child. Do you think?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, hands off because it's too much effort to discipline.
Anyway, she goes into the lounge and she screams, and Fizz finds her on the floor, and she says Cerberus jumped at her and knocked
Apparently,
her over.
allegedly.
But Cerberus is sitting on his bed, panting like he hadn't got up.
Yeah, I know, he's just kind of chilling out there, like no.
And Mimi's like fuming and saying she needs to get a casualty and she can't walk anymore. So they're going to take her to casualty, and they see Tyrone on the way out, and he says he's going to take Mimi because Fizz has to go to this wedding meeting, and she comes back later, and Phil's telling her about the wedding meeting, and Evelyn's very suspicious about Cerberus, and she doesn't think this really happened. But Mimi's like, "Never mind, let's all concentrate on Phil's forthcoming second marriage."
So do you think that Cerberus did actually knock Mimi
but
down?
Why would what's she stitching him up for?
It's an elaborate hoax.
Why?
If it is a hoax.
I love Mimi, but I don't like people screwing around with dogs or being mean to animals. I don't like people that don't like pets or try to get a pet kicked out of its own house.
Yeah, this is a little bit like that time that Amy tried to convince Ken and Deirdre that Eccles had bitten Simon.
Yeah, maybe. I don't like that. That will put me right off her if she's trying to get Cerberus in trouble.
Yeah, I don't get why she would, unless she's literally trying to prove that she's top dog, as it were.
But I don't know whether she didn't say anything horrible about Cerberus.
Also, do you break your own hip in an attempt to make a point?
I don't think she's broken her hip.
I thought that she said she had, or she'd busted her hip.
Well,
or
I
something
think if
like
she's
that.
broken it, it's very serious at her age.
It's like, that's the thing. Did they not show Cerberus jumping at her because they couldn't get the Cerberus dog to do it?
I think you can get a dog to jump at people.
So I don't know. There's something suspicious going on there.
Yeah,
but,
it's...
so it's going to be the wedding. It's this time next week, isn't it?
I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
I hope that both Monday and Wednesday's episode have got an awful lot of irritating mother-in-law Mimi.
Absolutely love it. Like we said before.
Fizz's nose being put out of joint.
Don't really recall there being an overbearing mother-in-law quite like this.
Not in the same way.
Which is really funny because it's such a overdone trope and such a easy sort of comedy score. I'm surprised Coronation Street haven't milked it before, but I love it. I think it's hilarious.
It's so good. It's so good. I think that she is an amazing character.
She's like, I have to stay with you because Phil lives in Cardiff. Can't get to his house.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Why not just go? I suppose it's because the house is mid being decorated, isn't it?
It is. A very handy, convenient reason why this 7-bedroom mansion can't accommodate. Phil's doing something in every room, apparently.
Right, so we got the old soak storyline. So this is a huge story last week, wasn't it? But it got the definitely the short straw this week in terms of story time. We had a little bit about Gail fretting about Audrey at the start of the episode, but David's clearly not fussed. Was this the scene where David is just answering yeah to everything that Gail says at the beginning? Do you remember that? Yeah. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's got bigger things to think about. He's going to go to Max's head a year about these boys that are bullying Max, and Max is like, no, don't. So David eventually relents on that. Stephen comes over and chats with Gail about Audrey, and they're agreeing that we don't want Audrey seeing Gail as the enemy here. So they go and visit her in hospital, and she's still been an absolute cowbag to Gail. Stephen says, look, if we can't work this out, I'm going to get straight back on that plane and go to Milan again, or Canada, or whichever one it is that I live in. And so Gail and Audrey are left to chat there. Well, Gail tries to chat, but Audrey is not interested in engaging in conversation whatsoever with her. Audrey was very, very difficult to like in these scenes until she eventually does have a change of heart.
Yeah.
Because Gail's just like, she opens up a little bit and says, look, I still love you, whatever you might think of me, you're still my mum. And Gail's just like, and Audrey's just like, just want some grapes, please. So when Gail goes to leave, eventually Audrey calls her back and says, look, love you, of course I love you. I appreciate everything that you do for me, but I don't need looking after like some forlorn old donkey in Weatherfield Donkey Sanctuary, north or south. And they agree to let bygones be bygones and put it all behind them. So nice, but I don't know, not the best resolution. It came a bit quick, but I guess I'm glad it wasn't dragged on any longer than it needed to be. Anyway, meanwhile, there's a possible story bubbling away between Elaine and Stephen, of all people, because Stephen's coming out of the shop, I think, and or is it Elaine? I can't remember, but they bump into each other anyway, and he says, oh, I owe you big time for helping to rescue Audrey the other day. Thanks so much to you and your partner Brian. And Elaine's like, oh, no, he's not my partner. She's just like very coy with him, and it looks like there might be some sparks there. And when Stephen walks off, Elaine looks back and's like, ooh, it's a handsome Canadian. But nothing else happens with there for the week. We just end up with Stephen going back to hospital, happy to see that Gail and Audrey are chatting merrily away there. And he says to them, I've decided to stay a little longer, at least until Audrey is back on her feet. But we just have to imagine what that's like, because we don't get to see any of it on Wednesday and Friday. So Gemma, thoughts on this stuff this week? Stephen and Elaine.
They're going to go away together.
If Stephen whisks Elaine away from Milan and then rips up a passport, then I'm all for this. Sorry, Elaine, you're very annoying. I mean, I guess we don't know what Stephen's type is particularly, but I just don't see him going for someone like Elaine. Do you?
They don't seem the same age, but they must be.
Like, yeah, I guess they must be. She's just too kind of. She appears too kind of flighty and ditzy.
Yeah, but for every sort of, you
airy
don't
fairy
know.
for him. I don't know.
All these big, striding businessmen need a sort of simpering lady at home to make apple pies for them.
I mean, maybe in some ways, Elaine, in her wittery ways, reminds him of her mum or his mum or his sister or something. I don't know. Nothing happened. Glad they're back together again. I copied down another quote that I thought was funny in that David and Gail scene where Gail's saying to him, "Oh, my own mother's not speaking to me," and David says, "I should be so lucky." So that was kind of funny, but yeah, not much else there. Tim's storyline, Gemma.
On Monday, Tim sees Aggie in the cafe and he asks her how things are with Ed, and she's like, "Oh, I barely ever see him these days. He spends so long with his brother all the time." And so then Tim meets up with Ronnie in the pub and tells him about Aggie feeling a bit left out. And then Ed hears the end of it. And Tim tries to explain that he has a special sense when it comes to other people's wives. And he can tell something's bothering Aggie. And Ed's like, "Oh, I think she's fine." And then Tim sort of leaves the conversation. Then Aggie finds Tim in Victoria Garden later and tears a strip off him for interfering in her life. But then she reveals that actually it did work because she came home to a bunch of roses and Ed's going to take her to the bistro for tea tonight.
Oh, what a treat. Well, all's well that ends well there, I guess.
Stop having scenes together. I'm getting worried.
Tim and Aggie.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
I don't know why.
This also felt like an end to it. I suppose there's still the issues that Tim and Sally have been having in the bedroom haven't been resolved yet, have they? But I don't know. I guess we talk about this one more when it comes up. The summer holiday storyline.
I prefer the old summer.
That it's tough. Hello, Summer's Robot. You've been a bit quiet recently, but Summer and Aaron are talking about their upcoming trip to Barcelona, and we saw her being a bit worried about the sexy bikini models on the magazines a few weeks ago, didn't we? And they kind of get chatting, and Summer says, "I am actually a bit concerned about wearing all this, bikinis or whatever on holiday because of my body image that I have at the moment."
You don't have to wear anything you don't want to wear, even if you're on a beach.
Well, she just doesn't. Yeah, I think she doesn't like the idea of going to the beach. Maybe it's also about being around other sexy ladies on the beach.
Don't go to the beach. It's boring.
You don't like beaches.
It's
on
the
beach.
most boring place in the world.
Lots of people, Gemma,
I don't understand
like beach
it.
holidays because they get to go to the
It's
beach.
not even a good view. It's a load of blue crap with a load of blue crap above it.
Oh, there's also some yellow.
Let's see. Oh, this might be this yellow sand. Wow, great. Then there's blue water and then there's blue sky.
I don't mind the beach, but we never go. Did you
boring.
You just said
what did you flop in do? I said.
Oh, did you? I thought you said
it's
something else.
It's boring, and the only good thing about it is ice cream. Sometimes you get hot. It's dull.
What about the men that go around with their caramelised
I'm not
nuts?
interested.
No.
No, they keep your nuts. I don't want hot crusty nuts. It's too hot. I would have an ice cream.
So anyway,
don't go to boring. Why would you go to Barcelona and go to the beach? That's the most boring, brain dead thing I've ever heard of in my life. If you want to go to the beach, we've got beaches here. Go to Western Supermare.
Anything else?
I
went to Barcelona once. I remember having to go to a football stadium there. I might have been like on a coach tour or something. Because I don't know why my parents would have chosen to go to the Barcelona football club. Because none of us are really into football. But anyway, Summer says that she wants to go
Eat
to
tapas. Go watch a ball fight.
She wants to go and see the
drink gazpacho.
Someone wants to go to the cathedral there.
She would do.
Aaron later tells her, we've been upgraded. Our hotel's been upgraded so that we can have a water sports session as part of our deal. And Summer is not too keen about this because of of what it might mean that she needs to wear or not wear. But eventually she kind of relents and she backs down and says, "Yeah, okay, I'll wear a wetsuit if I have to."
And he's like, they'll give us free wetsuits, so we can rent a wetsuit. Don't do that because everyone wheezes in them.
Have you ever worn a wetsuit?
Yeah.
I suppose you did sailing when you were little, didn't you? I've never worn a wetsuit. I'd be kind of interested
really
to see what it
horrible.
was like. Why? What are they like? Are they kind of slimy inside?
Yeah, they're all wet inside as well.
Oh, I don't like that. I'd quite like to just try one.
They basically just keep you warm, I think.
Yeah.
When you're in the water.
Anyway,
and also protect your skin from like
summer. Yeah.
Being hurt by dolphins or something.
Lyme's disease.
Lyme's disease.
No, Weil's disease. That's the one.
Weil?
I don't know.
Whale disease.
Whale disease. Stops you being eaten by a whale if you're wearing a wetsuit.
The whale's like, oh no, I hate it when they're wrapped like this.
Summer decides in the end, or she says to Aaron, "Look, I don't want to spoil the holiday. Yeah, okay, let's do it. It's going to be kind of fun."
Because she's come up with a plan.
Water skiing begins to appeal. Yeah, well. You know how Coronation Street likes to experiment with flashbacks and stuff recently? I think we maybe saw one with this summer scene at the end of the episode. Oh no, wait, they're just yet again showing her squirting her insulin down the sink. What a silly girl that she is. When she went there over to the sink, I thought, oh, not again, surely. Maybe they're going to change it. Maybe they're going to show her thinking about about squirting her insulin down the sink, but she decides... better of it and doesn't do it. But no, down the sink it goes. And, oh gosh, round and round this story goes.
What a waste of NHS resources.
I know.
You should be ashamed
How
of
much did
yourself.
that insulin cost?
I was watching
the
this and I was
NHS?
thinking, there are people in America who die because they can't afford insulin.
Yeah. Think about them, Summer.
Think about
how
how
you're supposed
those
to be smart.
poor third world country people in America. Sorry, Americans. It sucks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel bad for Summer because I also, you don't like beach holidays because you find them boring. I don't mind the idea.
No, I don't find them boring. They are boring.
In your opinion?
No, it's not my opinion. It's fact. It's boring as hell. What are you doing? Oh, I like to read the book. Read a book anywhere else. Why are you reading it on the beach?
It's calming. You get the breeze.
It's not
around
calming.
you, don't you?
Breezes exist everywhere else. It's the most boring waste of time. It's like when you get in a bath. I'm going to have a nice bath. Get into the bath. This is boring, isn't it? This is really boring. It's like sitting normally, but I'm wet.
You're making a strong case. I don't particularly mind it, but like Summer, I also don't like getting my kit off.
What do you do, Michael? You personally, what do you do at the beach?
Well, I haven't been to the beach for a very, very long time because I don't like. Yeah, because like Summer, I don't like wearing beach clothes.
Okay, so all right.
I remember when I was I went on a school exchange to Germany once when I was doing my A levels.
Germany's famous for beaches.
Well, the place that we went to in Germany, there was a lake there, and my exchange partner, who was a girl. We all had to ride our bikes down to this lake, and then she had her two mates there who were both boys, and she was quite a skinny girl, so she gets her kit off, and then these boys take all their clothes off.
What,
and
they're all naked?
Oh no, you know.
Sexual harassment.
No, she's got her beach wear on. Boys take their kit off and they're all rippling and muscles and everything. And I'm there literally in my jeans and t-shirt, and they were saying, "Oh, Michael, are you gonna put you?"
What's that in German?
What?
Michael, aren't you going to take your clothes off?
I don't remember. And I was like, no, I'm fine here. And I was just lying. I was lying on the beach, and this was kind of summer. This was June, July time, boiling hot, and I was lying there in my jeans and t-shirt, and they must have thought I was a right plonker. But I absolutely, for various reasons to do with bullying when I was at school, do not like taking my top off, or like I said before a few weeks ago, I don't even like wearing shorts after what happened at school. So I absolutely sympathise with.
That's terrible. But you don't sympathise with George though, being bullied. You think Frank's a great guy.
No, I do sympathise with George, but I think that bullies can change. So I feel bad for Summer, but I still find the story a bit boring.
Coming up to you and saying, "Michael, I was wrong at school. You are handsome and your body is beautiful.
You've got lovely legs.
You should
Michael.
share it with the world."
Well, if somebody wants to come back from a past and do that, then I might be benevolent and forgive you.
Stop trying to turn this into a sob story about yourself, Michael.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying why I might be sympathise with Summer a bit.
You're dodging my question. What would say you have the body of a god? Sorry. You already do that to me.
yeah, right next to me.
Literally an old school goddess.
Well,
So,
when I used to go to beach holidays, I used to have puzzle books. And also, this because this was going back to primary school days. I think my parents used to make fun of me a little bit. I used to
bet
take
they
like
did,
verbal reasoning tests onto the beach.
You nerd.
To practice on a 12
Yes,
plus.
That's ridiculous. What a waste of time.
Not just like, word searches like normal puzzle books.
Verbal reasoning test.
Yeah, little maths
So
test.
you're
They
like-
used to look at the beach.
That's sad, isn't it?
It's really sad.
So
But
someone's
I
like,
was
I don't want to
a
go to the
special
beach,
boy.
Sharon. I don't want to do any more verbal reasoning tests.
It also reminds me, God, this is just
Michael,
full of-
you can do verbal reasoning tests like every other English person in a caravan in the
bath.
rain.
No, I also remember when I went to Florida with my parents. We went to Disney World and everything, and we got these. Yes, I know. I've been to Disney World,
I've been
and
to
you
Disney
haven't.
World.
You've been to Japan and New York.
For
I've
work.
been to Disney World.
Yes.
Anyway, so you can get these Disney World passes that let you in however many theme parks there. So you go to your
Didn't
magical
go to Harry
kingdom.
Potter World, though, did you?
Oh no, you didn't because it wasn't there. You go to your Magic Kingdom. You go to your Epcot and you're seriously disappointed. You go to your
Even I know it's boring. I've never been.
Animal Kingdom or whatever. But we also had one for one of their water parks.
Beach
there.
World.
Yeah, and so it's like these massive swimming pool things with huge wave machines and everything, and there's like these thousands of people there all in this one place, and it makes the waves, and it's all a lot of fun. And I kind of like the idea of it, but because of me being so nervous about my body and everything, I was there in my jeans, in my t-shirt, lying on the
parents'
recliner.
life.
And my mum and dad and Jane were saying, "Come on, Michael, go." And I was a stubborn boy, and I can still be
No,
very stubborn
you
now
are,
if
yeah.
people want to make me do things. Like when all the other guys at school wanted to do Movember a few years ago, I was like, "Nope, nope,
Yeah,
I'm not
don't do
wearing
it.
that."
Do it
But
like-
anyway, so I remember lying there listening to my Melanie C CDs, or probably no, actually they would have been my mini discs back then, and Mum and Dad were getting kind of quite annoyed at me
Well, it's
because
cost a
they
fortune.
got their tickets, they paid for me to go to this water park, and I was just sitting there with my headphones on,
Stupid
and I was
idiot.
like saying no, and they're saying, "Come on, Michael, take your t-shirt off. It's weird," and I was like, "Nope, I'm not doing that." But it was because I felt the same way as Summer, I suppose, and
If only there was some insulin you could pour down the sink.
yeah, exactly.
We need to work. We need to take you to therapy.
Anyway,
Get your trousers off.
I think this is it. I think that I've got it all out on the podcast today.
Yeah, but will you go to the beach
So any
now
listeners, counsellors,
to do some verbal reasoning tests with no clothes on?
naked verbal reasoning tests. I don't know. If you turn around to me and said, "You know what, Michael, I'd quite like to go to the beach
Me?
this summer."
So you're putting it on me?
No, if you have some kind of revelation or some kind of
No.
urge for whatever to have some beach ice cream, then
If I go-
I think probably I'd be able to go with you because we
No.
did for our honeymoon, didn't we?
If I go to the beach, they'll push me back in the water. They'll save her. Let her go back with her pod.
But when we had our honeymoon, we went to the beach, didn't we? We went to
I
Princess
weighed
Keys
about
and stuff.
half as much as I do now.
You did.
So-
You did.
I'm twice the woman I was.
And did I have my t-shirt off on the beach?
I think you did. I think you did.
I did. I think that was a
But
very
we did find a nice secluded spot, didn't we, to have a little sit?
yeah.
But it was
I think
boring.
That was a big moment for
It
me
was
there.
boring.
Sorry that it was boring on our honeymoon,
It was.
darling.
It was like, oh, here we go. We're on a beach. Now what? Get me some alcohol.
Jimmy got so drunk at one of
I
those
did.
places once. No, what's that? Was that at Princess Keys?
Margaritaville.
Was that at St.
This is getting really boring now.
No, people love this. Gemma got absolutely plastered on Margarita, and I've still got the video of her. I've never seen her so drunk in
Yep.
my life, before or since.
Yep.
And we were going back to the boat after, because you had you not eaten much?
Well,
And you had a big free margarita.
Really long. Yeah.
And no, people love this. And yeah, she was utterly tiddly, and I was walking her through this chef, and she was going shh, 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 and then just you ended up lying on the bed in our room on the ship, didn't you? Just giggling away. It was absolutely hilarious. If anyone wants to see this video, I don't know. Maybe we need to think about my rates.
You
for
going
this.
to blackmail me and release a video and
I
shame
could.
me on the internet like I'm Mary O'Connor?
I could, yeah, accept all donations to the Trussell Trust to
Yeah,
release
Trussell. Yeah,
the
donate to the
video
Trussell
of
Trust if you want to
Gemma.
watch this video. I'll do
It's
that.
a funny video. Would you really?
Well, for charity.
Right, here we go, everybody. Here's the challenge. Donate us money to the Trussell Trust, and we will release a video of Gemma very, very drunk on her honeymoon. Right. Anyway, we have digressed just a little bit, so we've reached the end of Street Talk, and it's time to say the scores on the doors for this week. Gemma, I'm going to let you go first. What do you rate this week's Coronation
I'm going to give
Street?
this 3.5 oolong teas.
Oh,
We didn't
yes,
say that, but Mimi kept going on about oolong tea, which is gross.
Why 3.5? Want to justify your score
Really
there?
enjoyed Spider coming back. I don't know. I think doing these final, maybe it's a 4.
I'm thinking 4 this week, because looking down at the stories
I
we
think
had...
it's because we just finished on a load of boring stories about your childhood, and it made me think
Sorry,
it was boring.
sorry, darling.
I'm only kidding.
I know.
The summer holiday was dull.
I kind of like Aaron.
Tim and Aggie, I'm worried about this. Stephen is kind of beginning to suck the life out of everything.
Yeah. But those stories weren't in it very much, were they? So
I really, really liked Mimi back. I really liked Spider back. I found the stuff with Maria very compelling.
Me too. And Thorne as well. There was a lot to like this week, so I'm giving this week 4 incredible shower heads out of 5. Character of the week is a tricky one.
I'm giving it 4 as well.
4, yeah, okay. Character of the week. I mean, really, it's like you should be Maria, shouldn't it? Would you like to give it to Maria this week? You don't have to. You're grimacing here. I mean, I did sympathise with her a lot, and you know, she was standing up for the environment, and she was confronting the bullies by recording that video, even though if that maybe isn't the best thing to do. But in my head, I'm thinking I just want to give it to either Spider or Mimi because I was so happy to see them back, or Thorne. You know. Fantastic. Can I really give it to those characters that are only in it for a little bit though?
I want to give it to Mimi because she had so many amazing lines, and I know some people don't like her, but I think she's funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And I love her and Evelyn together.
I'm gonna give it to Spider because at a time when Toya needs friends
like
and
her
people to
fairy
understand her the most, he is there to tell her, you are not going crazy. And I think that's why I really enjoyed those very platonic scenes at the end of the episode. And she kind of opened up to him and said what, hell that she's been through this past month. And he was there just as a lovely calming friend to say, I've got your back. And I think that's what Toya needs at the moment. So for that, I'm giving it to Mr. Spider Nugent. And I think that's it for Street Talk this week.